Apparently, we're live on our second episode of The Unusual Suspect with Josh Feuerstein and Adam Sosnick. We got a lot to cover today. Here's what I have. We got to talk about the Trump rally. Was it full? Was it empty? Did he win? Did the media win? Who won? We're going to talk about NASCAR with Bubba Wallace. We'll talk about Ben and Jerry, what they're doing right now with their last 20 posts on Instagram, which is all about Black Lives Matter. Statues being torn down, racial stereotypes, stimulus package, maybe a little bit about The Rock's true political beliefs, and some business. So we got a lot to cover, but first thing I want to tell you guys, I don't know if you guys heard it or not. So Apple, if you know how the app works, 15 to 30% of any sales on Apple, any sales that they make on Apple, 15 to 30%, Apple takes it from you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you do, 15 to 30% they take. Did you know that Q1 Apple, just off the app, not cell phones, not computers, not Macs, not nothing, first quarter, Q1 Apple made $15.8 billion just off app revenue. That is now 18% of their revenue, what Apple is bringing in. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that they've actually had a brilliant business model from the beginning in taking, and they'll build something and then they make most of their money. Like, it's not just the iPhone, but when you walk into Apple, you take the iPhone and then what? You got to get another charger, then you got to get Bluetooth headphones, then you got to get this and you got to get that. And so if you actually look, they did the same exact thing with the secondary market on all of the accessories that you have to buy. In fact, I'd be curious to actually find out what percentage of their sales are actually their iPhone accessories or their MacBook accessories. So I think, if anything, that Apple has been brilliant in the fact that they have made a business model off of all of the auxiliary things that they're selling and doing, and not just doing it on, say, their iPhones and MacBooks. Like, their business is expansive.
This is why I still use a BlackBerry. I can't even.
You don't at all?
No, I'm just kidding. I got Apple.
I was going to say right there, we were going to kick you off.
I was one of the last to get.
This is a very committed Apple group.
Of course.
I have a Palm Pilot here.
Yeah,
still.
So what do you think about it, though? I mean, listen, there's a different story between all the other products you're talking. They got to produce it. They got to make it. They got to package it. They got to ship it. You need employees for that. This is Adam designs an app, sick app. He spends $300,000. He updates the app. He produces the product. He puts it on My Technology. He puts it on iOS. He puts it on all that stuff. He still has to pay me 15 to 30% every time he makes a sale.
Sounds like the mob. Okay, so I guess my question for you would be is this. Do you think that they're big enough now? Because, I mean, there's what? The Droid store? I mean, who even compares to them? Because essentially what they're doing, in fact, I know that there's like Amazon and stuff won't even do business with them because it makes the end user or the end business, it makes them considerably less profitable. So do you think that they have a monopoly on it? I mean, is this something?
When it comes down to apps,
yeah.
Do you know how much Droid, you know how much they spent with Apple last year? Google, I'm talking about, they own Androids. You know how much they spent on Apple last year?
No.
$12 billion. You know why? They have no choice. You have to.
Well, let me ask you. You seem a little worked up about this. Are you upset that Apple's making this kind of a profit?
I am not upset that they're making this kind of profits, but this is the closest thing to being a monopoly. Because if you're developing apps, there's only one place to go through, and it's Apple.
Right.
And so what they're doing now, this morning, there's some talks going on, the fact that they now want to cut out Intel, because they now want to develop everything themselves. So gradually, they're getting everybody to be gone, to own everything themselves. If they do that, it's going to be difficult for the developers. So it's going to go into an interesting place. You know, Apple's always been known for being a product. Back in the days, if you remember 20 years ago, you could go buy a computer for $1,400. But if you bought a Mac, you're paying $2,800, $3,000, and rich people had Macs. I don't know if you remember this. This was 20-some years ago.
I could never afford a Mac.
That's
I
right.
got my first Mac like 3 years ago.
I had a 486 is what I had back in the days when there was the 486. So Apple's always wanted to play this position, and I think Tim Cook's done a good job increasing the value of the company $1 trillion. When Steve Jobs died, Apple was worth about $100 billion. Take, after that to now, it's worth $1.1 trillion. It's a nice place to be.
Steve Jobs is probably smiling in his grave right now. Right?
I don't know.
I mean, what do you think he's doing? How does if Steve Jobs were alive, how would he feel? Would he be proud? Would he be excited? Would he be ashamed?
You finished Bob Iger's book. What did you take away from the Bob Iger relationship with Steve Jobs?
Well, they had a phenomenal
relationship. Yeah.
The thing that I took away, though, from, and if you've not read A Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, oh my goodness, what an incredible book on a guy that built a media empire. Like, obviously, he was stood on the shoulders of Walt Disney and a couple other, Michael Eisner and such, but he transformed the deal. But the one thing that I found interesting in reading that book or listening to it, because Pat is absolutely adamant about people that come into Valuetainment have to listen to this. And I walked away realizing how regulated mergers and acquisitions and stuff are for the purpose of monopoly. Now, me kind of digress here because I have a little bit of a personal vendetta when it comes to this. Now, obviously,
With who?
Well, with say Walmart. Okay, I'm a hardcore.
Don't you talk shit about Walmart, buddy? I've been. I spent my entire Sunday there yesterday. It's the cheapest place on earth.
I am hardcore.
I'm saving that money.
I am hardcore capitalist. Okay, and I believe in a free market. And this is where I think the dichotomy for me particularly is, because as a capitalist, I believe in a free market. And then I watch what happens, particularly on a free market that may be unregulated. So my in-laws run a nursery in Colville, Washington. It's a nursery, florist shop, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens? Walmart comes into town. As soon as they open up, what do? They go in and they undercut, even at a loss, they undercut my in-laws' prices. So they even have in their garden section, this is the Hedrick's Floral prices. This is Walmart's prices. And then they undercut them until they go out of business. And then what? As soon as they have a monopoly on that, because there's no other florist in town, then boom, they just start jacking those prices up. So I guess my question for you, Pat, is where do we draw the line? We're obviously all three of us are capitalists. Where do we draw the line when it comes to a situation like this between what is a free market and what's a monopoly?
Well, I mean, I was asking about Bob Iger and his relationship with Steve Jobs, and the part I was curious about what you were going to say is the fact that here's a guy, Bob Iger, been at ABC for 43, 44 years, and ABC is pretty much Disney, so you put him together, same franchise for nearly 45 years.
Sure.
And he worked his way up from a regular guy to all the way up to being the CEO and chairman of Disney for the last 15 years, to the point where he was thinking about running for office. Bob Iger, this is the CEO of Disney. Most people don't know this. He was thinking about going to run for office, and this is a conversation he had with Murdoch, where they're sitting there saying, are you having this talk with me because you're thinking about running for office? And he's like, no. And internally he says, I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to tell him because he's with Fox. I didn't want it to get out that I may be running for office, right? So here's what he does. He becomes the CEO of Apple. Michael Eisner has a terrible relationship with Steve Jobs. Why? Because he tried to bully Steve Jobs. And that's just not how you do business with Steve Jobs.
No.
Steve Jobs is not about making money. Steve Jobs is about it's an honor to do business with me. He's got that kind of respect because founders don't look at corporate executives the same way. It's a very different dynamic. It's like in the military. I remember guys who were sergeants who went in the field and went to war always look down to officers who never went to war. Even though they salute to an officer, behind closed doors, they would salute to an officer and walk away saying, pencil pusher, this piece of shit has never been. That's what they would say.
Cake
right?
eater.
So
Cake
founders.
I like this behind the scenes
Founders
insight right
don't
here.
look at CEOs the same way. Founders feel like I put all the risk on the line. You don't even know what it's like to put the risk on the line. There is that element, right? So Bob Iger comes in. Michael Eisner doesn't know how to deal with Jobs. They vote. Michael's fired. And Michael doesn't like Bob Iger because he knows Bob Iger may be taking over his position because everybody knows Bob is very ambitious. So Bob becomes a CEO. The first phone call Bob Iger makes is to who? Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
What year is this?
15 years ago. So go 2005, 2004 is what we're talking about. Okay, 15, 16 years ago.
And just for a little context for the viewers, he wants a relationship with Steve Jobs for the purpose of acquiring Pixar because Disney animation was absolutely horrible at the
Terrible
time.
place at this time. Yeah. So he specifically wants two guys from Pixar. He wants two guys from Pixar. These are the designers, these are the creative, but they're all about Steve Jobs. And they even thought about maybe we just go recruit these guys. We said it's not going to work out because they're fully Pixar. You got to buy Pixar. Anyways, long story short, he calls Steve Jobs. Steve says, listen, what are you calling me for? He says, I just wanted to call you. You're the first person for me to call to tell you that I'm the CEO of Disney now. And Steve Jobs said, okay, what do you want me to tell you? Good for you. he says Steve's reaction was like, I don't give a shit. Congrats to you, right? Okay. Long story short, Steve comes back. He says, okay, come back and tell me when the dust settles. Let's have a conversation together because I may want to talk about Pixar. Bob Iger buys Pixar from Steve Jobs. Bob Iger buys Star Wars from George Lucas. Bob Iger buys Marvel. He buys Fox. He buys everybody. So this guy, essentially, I think this is where you're going with the fact that maybe this guy's got a monopoly. What do you do now? Now, there's a part where Comcast wanted to make an offer to buy these guys, but they couldn't because there's a law against monopoly where you can't own two major news networks. So they have some stuff in place as far as the monopoly goes. But to go back to your question about Walmart, and you're talking about like, what do we do? Walmart comes and lowers the price, and they make the comparable with that business versus yours. And what do you think about that? Here's what I think about that. Here's a couple things I'll say about that part. Number one, if you don't innovate as a small business owner, and you directly compete with me in a certain area, that's your loss. Meaning, if I'm a 5'6" guy and I'm fighting you, you're 6'2", okay? And you're a big guy, and we're fighting, what's the last thing I want to do with you? I probably don't want to go, toe-to-toe with you because I'm in trouble if I go against you. But I can tire you out. So if you're Walmart, I'm a little shop, and if I compete with you in areas you can bully me in, I'm going to lose.
Like me and you on the basketball court. I run around a little bit.
If these small business owners go directly against their competitors in areas of strength, 100% they're going to lose. So, look, I understand Walmart's bullied a lot of people out of business. They go to small markets. They don't like the big markets. They like to go to the smaller cities and then take everybody out, and then they expand. But it's a business model that's worked. And they have 2.3 million jobs worldwide. He left 4 kids behind. His poorest kid today, Sam Walton's poorest kid today, struggling financially.
He's a tough kid.
Is worth $42 billion.
Ugh, poor
so
kid.
when they get together in Thanksgiving, the poorest kid, the brothers, and say, listen, man, how's it feel, man? Life must be rough being worth $42 billion.
Loserville, USA.
So that's what I think about Walmart. That's what I think about Walmart.
I have a question for you.
Tell me.
It's the only thing that's been on my mind when you were talking about Bob Iger. I get one thing on my mind. You said he was potentially running for office. Does he have your vote? For president.
Does he
Bob Iger? You just went off for 10 minutes about the amazingness of Bob Iger. Does he have your vote?
There's a big difference between a way a guy runs a business versus how he views things socially. I don't know how he views things socially,
Left.
He's hardcore left. And Trump even...
not that hardcore left, is he? I mean,
he is left. I think Kellyanne Conway, because Trump called him out on a tweet, and he said something about Bob Iger, and the fact that Bob Iger is not for this and not for that, and he was pretty ticked off at him. Bob Iger came back and said nothing. Kellyanne Conway called Bob Iger and said, do you have anything, did you hear about what Trump said, and do you have anything to say about it?
He said yes.
Yes and no. Which means
do you think he's left of Obama?
Well, he's very, very tight with Obama, which is why when Roseanne Barr made her comments about Susan Rice, they immediately took Roseanne's
Roseanne
show.
got the
because
the axe.
Obama actually called Bob Iger. So he's undoubtedly.
I just thought of something. You're like the younger, better-looking John Goodman.
If you would have said Paul Bard, what's the guy's name? Mall Cop, what's the guy's name? What is that guy's name?
Kevin James.
Kevin James.
That could have been.
Kevin James' younger brother.
So funny story is
I am Kevin James. Here I am.
So for those that don't know, I used to do a lot of viral online videos. The Starbucks video, So over 4 billion video views, and a lot of them were political rants. A lot of them were popular with one side.
By the way, if you don't know this guy's got 2.6 million fans on Facebook. I mean, he's got videos with 200-300 million views himself. So it's not.
I don't really follow the MAGA crowd at all. Would have no clue who this guy was in a lineup.
In the MAGA crowd, he's a superstar.
I've run into some people who are MAGA people. Oh, you're with Josh Feuerstein? No, this is. And I had no idea, but.
Yeah.
So tell us. You were saying.
You're great, apparently. You're making America great again.
So many people, when I had my red hat on backwards, thought I was Kevin James, that they would literally write these entire Reddit things like, Kevin James is a Republican. Look at what he said, blah, 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 blah. And just considering that so many of these videos went viral, I often wonder how many times people would go up to Kevin James and say, screw you, you idiot bigot. And he's like, what?
I didn't even.
In liberal Hollywood, Kevin James can't even get a
dude,
fair shake. Huh?
You know, Kevin James, as much as I love him, probably hates me because of how much we've been mistaken.
By the way, have you watched what he's been making lately?
Hilarious
Have
stuff.
you watched what you haven't seen what he's been
No.
doing? He's one of the channels. If he comes out with a video, I have it on notifications. I watch everything this guy produces.
Let's hear all about it.
Listen, he did one with he did one recently with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis. He was his sound man.
He
Wow.
was the sound man.
Daniel Day-Lewis, arguably the greatest actor in
The
Hollywood.
only guy that's won 4 of them, right? He's the only guy that's won 4 of them. Arguably, he's definitely not the highest paid, by the way. I don't know
Yeah,
if you know
trivia
or not.
question.
Yeah.
Who is the highest grossing? Are you still thinking about that? A week later, Pat loses sleep.
So Kevin James goes around doing this spoof. I don't know what he's doing. He's a sound guy, and he'll sit there and he's talking to Ryan Gosling from Notebook,
Right.
And says, Ryan, I'm just doing sound check. Can you do a sound check? What do you want? I just want to do a sound check. That's all I want to do. And when you want, he does it with I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Did you see his mask one?
With Joker.
No, he.
Yeah, I saw the mask one at the park. Everybody's around.
Yeah. And which honestly is weird because you don't usually see a lot of leftist type.
He's pushing the envelope.
Yeah, like he's really pushing the envelope.
He's pushing the envelope.
So you've got all these other actors that are doing these. Have you seen the? I'm sorry. The Black Lives Matter video where all of these actors are like, I'm sorry, I just realized I'm privileged, and they're in, a black and white video. It's our PSA type deal. That's normally what you see from Hollywood. On the flip side of it, you got Kevin James over here that's making fun of all of the or of all the
Let me ask you this question. I'm from Iran. I don't know what it is to be white. You're white. Do you feel privileged? Like, do you feel you have certain privileges over me? Adam, Josh.
I'll just say this, okay?
This is to the white community.
Yeah.
I'm representing a Middle Eastern community.
Sure. So, Pat, your kids wake up every morning knowing that they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? My kids, on the other hand, of course, Adam doesn't have any kids.
That I know of, right? Right over that
Costa Rica. Don't forget the Costa Rica trip.
There's likely a
Wasn't
7-year-old in
sponsored by
Costa
Trojan
Rica.
condoms.
Yes.
That's the problem. But go ahead.
My white kids do not wake up in the morning with that same sort of privilege. Okay, so as far as this white privilege, I just wish somebody would have passed some to me before, because I grew up in a lower middle class family. We had to, I had to work for flipping everything. So if there would have been a white privilege card, it would have just been really, really nice along the way if someone would have passed me one. Because now I don't know about you being Jewish. Do you have like a Jewish privilege card?
Yeah, 8 days in, they give you the bris, and then,
Bro,
That's the privilege?
dude.
But at least they do it 8 days and not 16 years in, because it'd be a
like-
different experience at 16 years old.
Bro.
Did you ever have a classmate at 16 years old that got circumcised?
no, but I feel like you have a story, bro.
I do have a story.
Oh, my
We had a
God.
classmate at
Okay.
16 years old. Like, why is it 16 years old? He's missing from school.
How was that,
And-
by the way?
Bro, when I got circumcised, I couldn't talk for 2.5 years. That's how traumatic it was.
At 16.
No,
He was a newborn baby.
Yeah, I
is
was a
what he's
newborn
saying.
baby.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So this guy
Troubling.
comes in, and finally the word gets out why he wasn't in school for a week. Let me tell you, everybody, this poor kid, the rest of the year, everybody took shots at this guy. So it's good you did it at 8 days old.
Yeah.
So do you feel privileged?
This is a tricky question. Do I feel privileged? I mean, I came from nothing, right? And I've
What does that mean when you say nothing? Like, actually explain what, because I know how much
Yeah.
money you've made. I know how much you've saved.
Yeah.
We've talked about how much money you got right now. Somebody that's very disciplined, incredible philosophies when it comes down to dinner. Always say thank you, like don't pay for dinner. Certain strategies
Right.
that you have, but it's why you have the kind of money that you have. And you've done comedy work. You've been on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. You've done all this other stuff. By the way, I learned today, Kyle, I don't know if you know or not. Did you know he was a second grade teacher for 2 years?
yeah.
You were?
He was a teacher for 2 years.
I was a substitute teacher. I did it all. And the second grade teacher got sick. They said, next man up, and they hired me.
Seeing a guy like you with the glasses, I would have pictured you more like a freshman, college year type of a professor.
I also did 7th grade for a little while, but really I
it's not
spent
seventh.
most time second grade.
Hold on. The second grade moms, cuter and younger, than the 7th grade moms, right?
That's just basic math right there. Yeah, hello.
So is that why you stayed in 2nd grade so long?
I was but that was actually the last job I had.
Insightful right there. Very insightful.
Yeah.
So go ahead, tell us.
That was actually the last job I had before I got into the financial world, becoming a cold caller. But
before you became a millionaire, did you have privileges?
Well, so, you know, I grew up in Miami. My father was a disabled businessman. He had cerebral palsy, and we relied on disability insurance. My mother's to this day, my mother's probably never made more than $18,000 a year. If mom's watching, I love you, mom. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but she's got a huge heart. I just called out my mom. I'm sorry.
Well, this makes up though for last time you called out your grandma.
You made fun of my dead grandma.
Anyone can get it on this show.
Literally.
Dead grandmas, my mom, Iranians, whoever wants it, they can get it. I'm just, I'm giving it all.
How do you say this about your mom?
I tell my mom to her face,
Mom,
enough.
if you're watching this, Mom, behind closed doors, he said nothing but good things
Very,
about
very
you.
I love my mom.
I want to make
very
sure
much.
I put that disclaimer out there.
So here's what I'll say about my parents. You asked about my upbringing and white privilege, and I'm sure this is going to be a fun topic.
This was the one you wrote down. You said you want to
I'm like, let's lead off with white privilege. Let's go right there. I'm sure people are dying to hear it. So my mother was, she's worked the front desk at a hospital or a nurse's office for years. She works the front desk. She makes, $12 an hour, if that, maybe. My father, but huge heart. She would do anything for anyone. She would talk to young people, old people, black people, white people, Spanish people. She's like, have you ever seen Edith Costanza from Seinfeld? Now you know who my mom is, but sweeter. Oh, who are you? What you do? Blah, blah, blah. Like, to the point where I see my mom, I'm like, you get 2 more questions and then you're done, Mom. Like after 100. So, but my father, very smart guy, very sharp guy. If you ever, most people thought he had a stroke or was cerebral palsy. Super smart, like almost like how you do math and you're like, 36 divided by 9. Like,
bro, he's
super smart like that. Yeah.
He's faster than a calculator for people that haven't seen.
Rain Man-esque. But we got by on disability insurance, and we lived in a very just, lower middle class family.
This is in Miami?
This is in Miami,
Okay.
North Miami Beach. Shout out to NMB in the house. North Miami Beach. You don't know about that neighborhood. You don't know about that neighborhood, Josh. So I was never privileged. I always hustled. My dad taught me a couple things growing up. My mom would always tell me, you can do anything and be anything you want to be, but if you're the garbage man, you be the best garbage man you could be. If you're, whatever it is, be the best thing you can be. And my dad taught me the key to, unless you're going to be a lawyer, unless you're going to be a doctor, you got to learn how to sell. So my father, to the day he died, which was for October 2019, so it was the first Father's Day without him, he said, I'm the greatest salesman that's ever been in the history of the world. Because he basically started an advertising business where it was flyers back in the day. This is before social media. He would hire only handicapped individuals to work for him and pass out flyers around the neighborhood. And that was his business.
Intentionally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was because he was a good businessman and he didn't have to pay them that much. I don't know. But he had a business where
Your dad's Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay. Mom and dad both Jewish.
Both Jewish.
It's very
both
important.
Jewish.
Yes.
My mom, Minnesota. My dad, Detroit. He, to this dying day, he also he claimed he was a member of the mafia. I'm like, nobody that's in the mafia says, I'm in the mafia. Like, it's kind of low key. But that was his thing. But
So no privileges for you.
personally, no for me. But do I believe that certain people have certain privileges in this country? I would tend to say yes. Some people are privileged in this country.
So I want to respond to that, but since we are live, we do get to read some viewer comments here.
Okay.
Brian Feeney says this. He says, apparently white privilege means being able to buy nude Band-Aids. So Band-Aid, I don't know if you know this, just came out with darker complected Band-Aids. So apparently maybe this is part of white privilege. I don't know.
To buy nude Band-Aid?
Yeah, because Band-Aids for a long time, and look, again, I'm the guy that doesn't buy
Do they
into
sell
the
hairy Band-Aids if I'm Middle Eastern? Like, are there, I'm just curious. Because we need furry Band-Aids. That's us. We have more hair than the average man. So
They got gorilla
they
Band-Aids
got to
for
make
PVD.
furry Band-Aids. So you were going to read any other thing, or 'cause
Yeah, so Space Monkey says white privilege is a myth and an insult. D-Truth says this: Patrick, you're better dressed today for your podcast. A suit just doesn't do it for your podcast.
Boom. What do we say?
and then you got your jacket on.
And-
I feel better like this.
Yeah.
Today.
I gotta look the part. I mean, you've already made your, you know, so you're good.
Yeah, and for those that don't know Patrick or aren't around him personally, like the guy,
He's richer than Saddam Hussein. Is that what you're saying?
he's richer than Saddam Hussein.
You could have gone anywhere with that
Oh
one,
my
Joe.
goodness!
I got an oil story about Saddam Hussein. Anyway, let's go back to the white privilege topic that Adam brought up. So Saddam Hussein. So when I was starting an insurance company and we were growing, there was a lot of rumors about me. I'm getting sued. I'm going out of business. I'm doing this. It was all these rumors. And every time there were newer ones, I'd get excited. Finally, one day, I'm starting to invest some money back into the business, and it's a little aggressive. And one of the favorite rumors that was ever built around me was the fact that my family is connected to an oil family in the Middle East.
Wow.
So I have money to be able to pay the kind of commissions others can't pay. That's why we're paying more commissions than the rest. Favorite rumor I ever heard. So the whole thing with Saddam Hussein, maybe that oil thing can be a relevant.
But the
still,
truth is, I mean, let's just cut through the truth.
White privilege.
No, but back to you, because with Josh over here, I'm sure you can go off on white privilege. You were an immigrant, came from a refugee camp.
Yeah.
Zero privilege. I mean, your father, he was
Cashier at a 99-cent store in Inglewood, 15 years.
prior to that, he had a business in Iran, though, that he was a manufacturer, distribution, and he was forced to downgrade, right, when he came to the States.
Yep.
So you came from literally nothing.
I've never lived in a place more than a 2-bedroom. I've never lived in a house. I don't know what it is to have a pool. And from 10 years old on, I've never had a father that I live with. So from the day I was born to 10, father figure was there. 10 on, never lived with a dad. I saw my dad twice a month. So that's how I was raised. I was a welfare baby. But this is the point I want to make about white privilege. So let's unpack what that means. So what does privilege mean? Hypothetically, is Donald Trump Jr. privileged? Yes or no?
Yes.
100%. Is Donald Trump privileged when he was raised?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was Fred Trump, his father, privileged?
I don't know about that.
Do you know the story of the Trumps? Do you know how far back it goes? The grandpa was the first hustler.
Okay.
The grandpa came out and he had restaurants, strip joints, different types of places that we had. And I even think it was in a place like Alaska, some weird places where he was making his money. And then his kids saw their daddy making money, working hard. Then Fred took it to a whole different level. Then Trump got the money. Some say millions, some say 14 million, but regardless what it is, he started off with money. And then there's Donald Trump Jr., right? There is no question he's privileged. There's no question John F. Kennedy was privileged. There's no question Barack Obama is probably not the most privileged guy that came up and made it all the way to the top being a president. There's no question that Bill Clinton probably wasn't the most privileged guy. There's no question you can go to Reagan wasn't privileged. Now, some people say Gates was privileged. Like, we can go back and forth with a lot of these stories here. Here's the point. Who would love to be privileged? Would you have a problem if your last name was Kennedy right now? We called you Adam Kennedy. Would you have a problem with that?
No problem.
Would you have a problem with that?
I'll take
would
it.
Would you mind if your name was Josh Trump? Would you be okay being Josh Trump today?
You just,
I'm telling you.
he just got wet in his panties over here.
But here's the other part.
Yes.
Here's the other part. So we can't sit there and dispute the fact that some privilege exists with my limp mic here. We can't sit there and say that some privilege exists when it comes down to certain people being raised in families.
But is it based on race?
No, it's not based on race. It's based on family. Meaning, if you raise a Michael Jordan's family and you're his son, guess what?
You're privileged.
You're privileged.
Have you seen Magic Johnson's son, the gay one?
What about him? Hardcore privileged.
Beyond, like,
Super
beyond
privileged.
100% privileged. Yeah, I mean,
as soft as it gets.
J-Lo's kids, privileged. LeBron's kids, privileged.
So
I'm going to a point here. Here's what I'm saying to you
go.
about this part is the fact that, look, I fully understand there is that part going on. But for me to give you that victory over me, I refuse to do that. For me to say, well, you know, you guys had 400 years and I had, 100 years to go. And you had a 300-year start. It's true. There's no question about it. There's not a start. You have a start. 100% there's a start. But then how long has America been around? How many years has America been around? 244
Couple hundred,
years.
yeah.
300
244
years, not
years.
even, right.
1776, 2020, 244 years. Okay? How long has China been around?
Thousands
of years.
Who's kicking whose butt?
Right now, America's has
Do you
won,
hear
but China's
U.S.
catching
saying
up.
there's something called China privilege?
I love this point. I love this point.
I don't hear about that.
I love this
And
point.
by the way, another one is this. How long has Israel been around? When did they get their country back? What year?
1948.
About 70 years, right?
70 years ago.
Yeah.
1940 is 72 years ago.
Yeah.
How's Israel doing?
Rock stars. Doing it.
So by the way, if you go back 60 years ago, there were signs. The signs were saying what? What were many of the signs saying 78 years ago?
In what country?
In U.S.
Okay, as a Jew.
Yes.
No blacks, no Jews, no dogs.
Which is absolutely pathetic and disgusting to have something stupid and ludicrous
Signs like that in America.
The fact that it existed, it's so
Disgusting.
annoying to me.
Of course.
To have something like that, right?
Yeah.
I can't stand the fact that there's something like that out there.
Right.
Yeah, but
that didn't stop us
Who
Jews.
owns Hollywood? Who owns Hollywood right now? You know, there's two movies I watched this weekend, and both of them really got to me. I don't know if you've ever seen Schindler's List. I don't know if you've seen Schindler's List.
Of course.
So Schindler's List, to me, I had the kids watch the performance of this lady. I can't play it for you because YouTube's going to put us as, whatever the rights are. It's 31 million views. Let's put the link below so people can see it. You got to watch it. It's 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Kai, if you can put it down. And they're playing the main theme song of Schindler's List. You know which song this is. And there's people there, and one of the ladies that's playing, she had a brain aneurysm. And she's playing, and a beautiful girl, and the audience is smiling. Everybody's trying to figure out who she is. She's the daughter. They're playing this. In the middle of this song, you see the mom start crying. She can't even hold herself, how emotional she gets. She starts crying. The daughter starts crying. Everybody starts crying. The story of Schindler's List, it's a very, very incredible story, right? Terrible, difficult story to watch with the whole girl in the red and Liam Neeson playing the whole movie. And then you go to the other movie I had my kids watch this weekend was, what's the movie with Denzel Washington, the coach, where...
Return of the Titans?
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans.
So Remember the Titans.
I better remember the name of the movie.
When I was running a sales organization, and I had my office in Northridge, California, in Granada Hills, the one movie that our guys were required to watch over and over and over and over again was Remember the Titans. Here's why. Our office, we had whites, we had blacks, we had young, we had old, we had single, we had married, we had Latino, we had Asian, we had everything. And the one rule I had in my office, I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're Latino, I don't care if you're woman, a man, married, I don't care who you are. If you're able to compete and outproduce the other person, you're going to get love. I don't care who you are. Awesome. I don't care how old you are. I don't care. Our top performer was a former single mother who's half white, half black, who has a kid, 33 years old. We're going to pay her $300,000 this month. And we have a 33-year-old kid whose father's Puerto Rican and Cuban. We paid him $113,000 last month. He's single, he's a bachelor. The other one's married with kids, 6 kids. No one's sitting there saying who's going over what, right? So if you look at the movie Remember the Titans, there's a scene where one of the linebackers comes up to Denzel. He says, I just want to let you know, here's my name. I'm your best guy on your team. I'm the only All-American you got. And I'm going to let you know, you let me pick the team, and we're going to be okay on this team. He says, I'm sorry. Denzel, it's the best scene, you got to watch this. He says, I'm sorry. What was your name again? He says his name. He says, oh, your name is Jerry. No, not Jerry. No, your name is Jerry. You're Jerry, and you're Dean. Oh, you guys are the comedians. You guys are funny. Oh, folks, give a round of applause. I got Jerry and Dean Martin right. Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. He stands up. He says, who were your parents? He points at his parents. Those your parents? He says, look at them. Look at them closely, because for the next 2 weeks, I'm your daddy. He said, I want you to tell me, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Look at me. Who's your daddy? You're my daddy. Yes, that's right. I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. And on this team, I don't care what color you're, It's such a beautiful message, because the head coach who was white had to step down. Denzel comes in, who's the better head coach. Mm-hmm. He's the better head coach. No one cares what it is. And there was discrimination in the city. Everybody's upset. Everybody's agitated. Okay, look at them across the street. Why are they letting them live here? Are they the movers? No, they're our neighbors. These scenes, it's such a beauty. He takes the kids to Gettysburg, which nowadays some of these statues may be taken down. And these kids, at the end of the day, what happens to them? Left side, strong side, all that. It's such an emotional movie. I think today in America, if you ask me, I think everybody in America needs to take a 2-hour break, and they need to watch Remember the Titans. Awesome. If I had a network, I would have every single parent, mother, father, son, cousin, sibling, sit down in front of that TV and watch Remember the Titans. There's so many lessons for all of us to learn. For the right with Republicans to see, to realize, listen, man, if somebody's a better performer than you, it's them. To the left, to the people in the middle, to the people that don't care less, there's a lot of things to be learned there. So when you ask me about white privilege, I think we need to kind of go back and look at some of the histories and see the fact that in America, that's a 244-year-old country, beat out everybody And they came from all over the place. All these immigrants came over here and they said, listen, let's go light it up. Just because they had a great system in place. So no, I don't see any kind of, I do think privilege exists, but I don't like to psychologically give that victory to anybody. I don't care what you
That
are.
was really powerful, Pat.
So let me ask you this then. This is going to be somewhat of an incendiary question, but I think it actually goes to your point. Do you think the NBA and the NFL are racist?
Do I think the NBA and the
Meaning,
NFL...
do you believe that they're racist against white people?
Do I think the NBA and the NFL are racist?
Okay, so to your point,
Yeah.
if
I know what you're saying. I can answer the question for you.
Sure, okay.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What percentage of NBA players are black?
70%.
Is it
No,
70%?
higher than that.
I'd say
It's gotta be
Let's say it's
closer to
70%.
80%.
Fine. Well, it's Dallas Mavericks. Let's just say it's 70%. Okay. What percentage of NFL players are black?
68%.
So 70%, 70%.
Yep.
What percentage of Major League Baseball players are black?
Are you counting like Cuban, Puerto Rico,
No,
is it
no.
white?
I'm not talking about Dominican. I'm talking about black.
I don't have that statistic.
Let's just
but
say 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. What percentage of hockey players are black?
probably
1%.
one or less.
What percentage of NASCAR drivers are black?
There's one.
One. Bubba Wallace. Like it's one we're talking.
Wallace,
Okay.
yeah.
So what percentage of figure skaters are black?
Well, yeah, some like
What percentage though?
1%.
I would say 5.
Let me ask you a question. Who the best tennis player, female tennis player in the world, white or black?
Black.
Serena.
Is there any question that anyone's even close to her?
No.
Greatest golfer of all time. The debate's between two guys. Who are the two guys?
Tiger and
Tiger.
If
yeah.
Tiger doesn't change his swing and Tiger doesn't have the back problems, does it even get close on who's a better player?
No.
On a 5-year run rate, can you put anybody stacked up against Tiger?
No.
Color doesn't exist, man. It's who's the best.
So
So you cannot say Major League Baseball is a racist game because they don't have enough black players, and you can't say football is a racist sport because they don't have enough white players.
everything's based on performance.
Merit
okay?
and performance.
Now,
yeah,
I'm gonna
and
get in-
eyeballs.
So I'm going to get into a little bit of a touchy subject here, but using Denzel Washington, they actually went to Denzel in an interview back in like 2005 that's going viral now, and he started talking about the issues that we have today in regards to race is not so much skin color. In fact, it's not color. He said it's culture, and he talked, and I want to get your honest opinion, and I realize this is a very touchy subject, but he talked about the fatherlessness issue in America, but predominantly amongst the African American population. So my question is this. So you talk about Trump, okay? And you talk about a lot of these other guys that built upon their father's generational wealth or knowledge and stuff. Do you think that there's anything to that?
There's no question there is. But here's the thing. Okay, so talking points. Left, talking point, right. Let's take the talking points, okay? What's the talking point on right? It's lack of a father figure. Candace Owens comes out and says, hey, why don't we talk about the fact that father figure and, pregnancy and the amount of abortion and Planned Parenthood, that's the message on the right, right? Okay, Planned Parenthood was really a way of getting rid of the pacing of the African-American populations.
Margaret Sanger.
Exactly. So you have the Latino communities now growing faster very soon. It's going to be a much bigger population because of what they're doing, right? Okay, fine. The left argument is what? Racism exists. The presidents were, Teddy Roosevelt. You got, even George Washington and all these people in the past. And if you're white, you have a privilege. Arguments on both sides. Okay. Father's side. Is there some truth behind it? Yeah, of course there is. By the way, there's 100% truth behind this side. Is there truth behind the fact that there's white racists in America? There's no question about the fact that there's white racists in America. By the way, is there truth behind the fact that there are black racists in America?
Sure.
I was in the military. Let me tell you, there was a lot of black people that couldn't stand white people. So we can go back and forth saying all of these different things about both sides. The one thing I can tell you is everything to me comes down to results. Everything to me comes down to values and principles. Like, for example, talking about the Jewish conversation, right? You're Jewish. Most people think I'm Jewish. By the way, when I worked at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, and I used to cold call people. And when I cold call them, I would say, hi, this is Patrick Bet-David giving you a call from Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I'd like
Shalom
to talk to you.
Aleichem.
Right? I would say, this is Patrick Bet-David calling you from Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. They would say, what's your name? I would say, what? Patrick Bet-David. I would go to their house just because the name Patrick Bet-David, guess what they would say? Oh, I was okay with you coming to my house. I said, tell me why. He says, because we thought you were Irish and Jewish. What do you mean Irish and Jewish? Patrick, Irish, but David, Jewish. And I went to their house. I said, you're serious? Yeah, we thought you were Jewish. But here's the part about the whole Jewish conversation here that we're talking about. We're talking about what right now? We're talking about the privilege, all this stuff. I'm talking to a guy named David, and I'm in Woodland Hills. David had $6 million in cash. And at this point, I'm broke. I'm $49,000 and I have nothing. 20 grand in a bank account is a lot of money to me. When you're broke, 20 grand is a lot of money, right? Yeah. So he says, he's 35 years old with $6 million in cash.
Wow.
And I'm like, David, how much money you got? He says, here, let me show you. Let me show you. He takes me to the back, opens up, cash. 6 million cash.
Gotta know what this guy was doing.
Didn't trust him. This guy was a dealership guy, okay? So let me ask you a question. How do you have $6 million in cash? He says, well, I'm a business guy. I said, why is it that every time I run into Jewish people, they have money? Why is that? Why do Jewish people, most of them that I know in LA, why do most of them have money? He told me the most magical thing about the Jewish community. You know what he said? He said, here's the thing about Jewish community. When one Jew makes money, 4 others make money. We make money together. And because we make money together, we keep doing business together. I'm not trying to make 100% of it. I don't mind if you make a couple, I make a couple, he makes a couple. Because the next deal, we're doing again. The next deal, we're doing again. The next deal, we're doing again, right? Okay. So where am I going with this? The point I'm trying to make is the following. If the Jewish community has been very good in business, what I want to know is, what are the basic foundation of what's passed down generationally? So when I talk to a Jewish community, and I was a broke, everybody in my family that passed down, we didn't have money. So when I went to a Jew and I said, how did you make your money? And they would give me the principles, I borrowed the principles. So I don't care what you are. I had an uncle that was a Syrian, and he was living right next to Snoop Dogg off of San Antonio in Upland. Very nice house, 7,200 square foot, like the dream house.
Wow.
He was friends with Al Gore, pictures on the wall with Al Gore, hardcore Democrat, big time Bill Clinton fan, big time Democrat. I mean,
my kind of guy.
But a great business guy is who he was, okay? His name is Luther, one of my heroes of my life. Luther Alcazar is his name. His brother, Albert Lazar, one of my favorite people in the world. Anyways, so I would watch to see how this guy made his money, and I would borrow principles. So to me, when you're saying fatherless, all of that, yes. But at this point of the game, if I'm any community, what I'm looking at is what foundation works, and I'm going to start adjusting to that. The other day we were talking about how Gary Nessner ended up becoming an FBI agent because of what? Because he watched Mickey Mouse Club, and in Mickey Mouse Club, J. Edgar Hoover showed up. I'm going to be an FBI agent. I'm going to be the greatest FBI agent of all time, right? Okay. I'm in Chicago at Ritz-Carlton. And I go in 2000, sharp money, 22, 23-year-old African-American men and women walking around suited up, looking money. And I said, so what's going on over here? He says, oh, we're all future attorneys. Future attorneys, yeah, Africa, how many people? 2,000. All of you guys are being attorneys? Yeah. No way. Yes. There's 2,000. And they say, yeah, here, come inside. Look, I went inside and looked. Adam, one looks sharper than the other. You know what's the first thing I thought about? Future looks bright because 2,000 attorneys here. Yeah. But also I thought about, that means law, Supreme Court, new laws being made, all this stuff. Okay, whatever nationality you are, whatever last name you are, whatever family you are, whatever culture you are, the leadership team of that culture has to sit there and say, what values and principles are we passing on to the African-American kids? Are we telling them to go become school teachers? Are we telling them to go become athletes? Are we telling them to go take an MBA? Go become an entrepreneur. Go become a business owner. Go create jobs. What is the foundation? And whatever that is, it's going to predict where that generation is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. So I sit there and I look at all this, fatherless, all this other stuff. Fine. It's all merit. There's a lot of merit behind all the arguments on both sides. I want to look at the values and principles. And if you want to change the future, it starts with what values and principles I'm passing down to you. As the 17-year-old kids that's coming up, what do I want to feed you with? Because 20 years later, just like Gary Nessner becomes an FBI agent, I can help you become the next big entrepreneur that creates 3,000 jobs. So it's values and principles for me.
Okay, so let me go one step further. Okay, so you and I are both a huge believer that essentially that your mind is a reproductive organ. That's why you're constantly feeding it entrepreneurial books, you're listening to stuff. We're always soaking in info. So I guess my next question would be this. Do you think that there's any responsibility on part of, say, the guys that have made it, particularly in hip-hop culture? Okay, so hip-hop culture is predominantly African-American. Do you think that there's a responsibility that that lies on those guys' shoulder in creating. Now, obviously, we're all in the media space because media is influential. Do you think that there's a responsibility that lays on their shoulder to create the sort of content that is not going to glorify the very things that we find prevalent within the community that ends up leading to guys being in jail, committing crimes, etc. So you've got music that a lot of these guys have embraced as, the Jay-Z, the P. Diddy and stuff, like, and obviously it's went downhill from there. Like hip hop, the kind of hip hop that we grew up on and the generation before us was extremely it was upbeat, it was uplifting. Like there was it was more like Mace after he was reborn, is like, welcome back, and then
take that.
Yeah, now it's like, yo, I flip a hoe and I hit a place and the boom boom gotta get, like, so
Josh can freestyle, by the way. He could have gone on. He could
freestyle.
No
There's
joke.
no
I'm putting
question
it right in
about
the camera. Homeboy can freestyle.
He can freestyle.
No,
We might have to have you do something like just.
Do you think it has anything to do with hip hop culture? Like, is there any blame there?
Blame. Okay, again, everything in my mind is about language. So, for instance, my daughter sits there and one word comes out of her mouth. If I don't like the language, I'll stop her right there. And I said, we don't use those words, okay? My son will say something. I can't do that. I said, I'm sorry. He says, I can't do that. I said, you can't do what? I can't do that. I said, okay, no problem. I can't take you to Yard House. Yes, you can. No, I can't. I can't take you to Yard House. You know you can. All you have to do is get in the car and take me there. I said, if you say you can't, I'm going to say I can't take you to Yard House. Then the next time he's about to say, he stops, right? Again, for me, it's all about language. So hip hop, okay, I grew up to what? Eazy-E. Real, Eazy-E. You got what? RBO Posse. You got Tupac. You got Biggie. You got, Rappin' Forte. You got Kid Frost. You got Master Ace. This is my era. I listen to these guys. Outkast. This is my era. The rage that I had, a lot of it was on the language that stuck. So who did I hang out with? I hung out with gangsters, Burbank 13, had some friends from there. A guy I got on the phone with the other day, him and I were in Vegas. Crazy story. He calls me. My sister sold him a policy. Wild story. He walks into, my sister goes to the house and sells him a policy. And he says, we know your brother. And she says, what do you mean? I says, yeah, I was neighbors with your brother. Your brother and I hung out for a very long time together. She says, get out of here. Yeah, I'm going to call him right now. She calls me. She says, do you know this guy named Samo? Do you know this guy named Cebu? I said, is the third brother's name Saro? Yeah, he's no longer with us. God bless his soul. But yeah, I do know these guys. Why? I just sold him a policy. I said, get out of here. So we get on the phone. He says, man, do you remember back in the days? I said, 100%. I said, Samo, I remember how you shot the basketball. Because I remember his shot, and I remember one time him and a friend of mine, Adrian, right off of Verdugo, got into a fight, a beautiful fist fight, incredible fist fight on a back alley, and no one jumped in. It was a one-on-one 5-minute fight, respect. And Adrian was a good fighter at that time, and they
one-on-one, no one jumped in?
One-on-one, no one jumped in. It was the best kind of fights, right? So anyways, I'm talking to him. I said, do you remember what happened when we were 15, 16? He says, which one? I said, do you remember when we were in Vegas? He says, I do. How do you remember that?
16-year-old in Vegas?
I'm 15. He's probably 14.
Wow.
We're a year apart. I said, I remember that. Do you know what happened that day? Here's what happened, Josh. We're in Vegas. My dad's upstairs in the room. I said, Dad, I'm going to go hang out with one of my friends. We go downstairs, okay? We're in the car listening to Eazy-E, okay? Listening to hip-hop. This is back in the days when it was CRXs. I don't know if you remember the CRXs. Armenians had CRXs and Honda Accords and Honda Civics. Yeah. It's the Armenian, you're with Turlock with Assyrian. So we're in Vegas. We're driving his dad's Cadillac. It's me and 4 of us in the car. We pull up. A car pulls up next to us. Windows come down. Where are you from, Holmes? We're from Brooklyn. We're from L.A. Gun comes out. My buddy takes out the gun, points at him. They take out their gun. Everybody jumps out, okay? Fight breaks out. Cops show up. We leave the car. I'm 14, 15. I walk upstairs to the room. My dad's like, why are you breathing like this? I said, I ran up. He says, nobody runs up the elevator. You're not running up. What happened right now? I said, Dad, just don't worry what happened. I'll tell you one day. I told him the story 10 years ago, by the way. Couldn't believe it.
Pat's an OG.
Yeah, so anyways, this happens. We run off. I'm telling the story.
This is like at the height of East Coast, West Coast beef? Is this what's going on?
What I'm trying to tell you is I'm this close to ruining my life. By the way, his brother died. He was about to ruin his life. I'm this close to ruining my. There is no Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
There is so. As much as I can sit here and say, look at my life, look at my cars, look at the travel, look who I am, look at. As much as I was this close to being irrelevant, and I could have gone a different direction because of my association, the music I listen to, and who I aspire to be Ice Cube. I aspire to be one of these Tupacs. I aspire to be, these guys are my heroes.
Really?
And the language got me in. So for you to say that, I would say part of it is yes. But and there's a partial truth to the music. I don't listen to any hip hop today because today's hip hop doesn't do anything for me. If I want to listen to hip hop, I go back and my playlist is all about the '90s hip hop. It's not today. But
You don't listen to any hip hop today.
I couldn't tell you one song from Kendrick Lamar.
Wow.
Not
But
one song from
he
Kendrick
can name
Lamar.
Shy's entire album.
Oh,
I can tell you
that's
Shy. I can tell
slow
you 112.
R&B,
I can
though.
tell you any of that.
I gotta
stuff.
tell you, I listen to a lot of hip hop today.
Zero
it's
for me.
not as bad as
Zero for
everyone's
me.
making it out to be.
Yeah,
though.
I mean,
Bro,
listen.
I'm not saying that it's all good.
I'm a DMX guy. I'm a DMX guy. Too Short. That era. I can't.
You
do
basically,
no
as soon as
hip-hop
it hit
today.
2000, you're like, I'm out.
I'm
Hey,
done.
bro.
That's it.
I'm done.
You couldn't name one Travis Scott song. You can't name
I
one
can't
Kendrick
tell you
Lamar,
one
no
Travis
Drake
Scott song. Not one.
You don't know. You used to call me on myself.
I know the
Oh,
song.
come on.
I couldn't tell you the name of the song.
So, bro,
Okay.
I grew up in such a strict Christian household. Okay,
Gang
So,
banging.
dude. For me, I would listen to like Carmen or like our rappers.
these Christian
were-
artists?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like Christian
know none
rap,
of them,
which
but
is
yeah, I'd love to hear.
super cheesy. But I remember when DMX came out because he had the song "The Lord's Prayer," and so I was able to kind of convince my parents that, look, this song says it's the Lord's Prayer. This is like a
Do
Christian.
you remember
rapper.
the song?
Well, I just like, our Father which art in heaven, ho, ho, hallowed be thy name, and then he goes straight into DMX.
I love that song. Great.
Dude, he was such a dope rapper though. And then I remember, so we lived on a fairly busy street, and someone came by. I don't know if a girlfriend, boyfriend had gotten in a fight, but they threw a Genuine CD out, and it landed in my yard.
Let's do
It's
it.
not even the best song, by the way. It's not even the best song.
What's it about?
Hands down, tell me, do you want to go home with me? There is
Okay, something that
no
everyone should know about
question.
PBD. You give me
No
You give
question.
me a top artist best song. PBD is like, no, that's not the best
That's
song.
not the best song.
It's always the number 2
There's
song.
no
There's
way.
always some obscure song, no matter who the famous artist is. You're like, that's not the best
Just
song.
because one song got picked up and the talent back behind that song, they never said, let's go make Tell Me Do You Want to Go Home With Me the main song. But that's the best song.
Pony
yet.
by Genuine, though. Come on.
Whatever, no.
Hey
Anyway,
guys,
go
since we're live, okay, I want you guys to put in the comment section what you think is the best song out of, let's say, 90s hip hop, right?
90s hip hop, yes.
Like especially late 90s. Start giving us your answers.
Not late 90s, mid, all of 90s.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
94, Tupac, you got 90s period.
I have an observation real quick.
What?
You're great at voices. So I think you should just, the Trump voice and all the voices. But anytime you want to reach
Make an
out to the
announcement?
audience, you're like, hey guys, Casey Kasem here. Top 40. If you want to know the top 90 song, like, you do notice the voice changes just a slightly. I love it though.
People are saying Dre, Dying to Live, Biggie featuring Tupac, Forest Hill, and then we got
Interesting, Forest Hill.
Forest Hill.
Who else?
Too Short, Lauryn Hill, Everything.
This is best
So
90s.
Anxious from Genuine.
Oh, So Anxious is a great song. So anxious,
fine,
so
but
maybe at 11:30.
I even like 550 What. I don't know if you remember 550 What. See, that's
Sing it.
That's
PBD.
that's the 13th song on that album. 13th, I think. It's the last one. 16 or 13.
How you remember
it's the
these
last
details.
song in that
How you remember these
album.
details isn't crazy.
Forest
I'm
Hill.
still very upset with you that you don't
These
think
people-
Keith Sweat's best song was Twisted.
Nope.
Nope.
Bro,
No.
I legit think right now that there's going to be a gang fight breakout in the comment section.
Hey, dog. Hey, dog. I know
A
you don't
Tribe
think
Called
Genuine
Quest.
song.
Can we kick it? 3-6 Mafia, Cypress Hill.
3-6 Mafia's good.
People saying Outkast, obviously.
Outkast,
Wu
Andre
Tang, Mobb
3000.
Deep, Shook
Outkast.
Ones.
Mobb
Outkast
Deep.
all day long.
Okay, favorite Outkast song?
Baby. Yeah. Rosa Parks.
That's a good song.
I like Wheels of Steel too. Wheels of Steel. I like AT Aliens. I can go all day
That's
on.
me.
ATLians.
That's the best one for mine.
How does ATLians start?
It's
Let me see this.
It's one for the money.
Yes, sir. Two for the show. A couple years ago, out here to the low.
All right, let me.
Started through the hood.
Let me tell you, that to me, I had it on repeat over and over and over.
Let me wrap this on
All
our
right.
audience real quick. If you want to text us, you can actually do so, and you have no clue. Over the next few months, we're going to be giving away some of the dopest, illest, chillest, tightest, sickest, most off the
can't
hook,
say that,
over the top.
Josh.
It's going to be the
Prizes.
dopest, illest, chillest stuff
Official
you've
like
ever
a
seen.
referee with a
kids.
whistle. All you have to do is text us at this
Love
number,
Josh.
310-340-1132. That's 310-340-1132. That is actually, look, PBD's actually going to send you his number. It's going to come back to you. Just make sure that you go ahead and sign up for our text updates. So here's what I love about this podcast, PBD. We haven't even gotten to the topics.
No, we haven't got there.
Dude, we're still on topic number one. Well, actually, no. We still haven't even gotten to Trump's rally.
So what do you think about? What do you think about his rally?
Okay, for those of you that don't know, it was a huge trending article on, on pretty much on CNN, MSNBC, et cetera, everybody's sharing the pictures from Trump's mega rally, his mega MAGA rally, and everyone's showing some of the empty seats that are up in the bleachers saying, oh, look, Trump's rally didn't go off. He didn't pack it out like he said he was going to pack it out, et cetera, et cetera. Have you read any of these articles, Adam?
I've seen some of them. I've got a lot of opinions, but go on.
Okay, so I guess my first question to you guys would be this. Do you legit think he did not pack it out, or do you think there was maybe some extracurricular reasons as to why it wasn't packed out?
There was, from what I am reading, there was a lot of extracurricular activity. Apparently, the TikTokers of the world got a hold of this.
So it's interesting because, again, going back to the whole idea of fake news, if you would have seen the line, people started camping out 3 days ahead of this rally, literally camping out outside.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, a million plus ticket requests. Now, I thought from the beginning, like, man, that seems like a really high number. Obviously,
In what city again?
it was in Oklahoma, actually.
Tulsa.
Yeah, in
Tulsa. Are there a million people that even live in Tulsa?
Well, I think people are coming from across state lines. Everyone wanted
People are traveling.
Yeah. So they wanted to go to the mega MAGA rally. So if you see the pictures from the inside, obviously you see empty seats. But if you see the pictures from the outside, I mean, literally a day ahead of time, there's already 100,000 plus people there. I mean, it is.
So how come it wasn't packed?
So it for two reasons. Is that people did not get their quote unquote certified ticket in order to get in. So there was only so many verified tickets. So a bunch of TikTok users decided to troll the campaign. And so what do? They put in a bunch of fraudulent ticket requests. And then, of course, all of the BLM, the protesters and stuff, they show up and they end up blocking the entrance into the rally, and since it was blocked, a lot of the people couldn't get in. Now, I experienced this firsthand when I went to Trump's inauguration. They blocked the gate, and there was tons of people that were not able to get into Trump's inauguration. And you heard him back then saying, oh, it's not as big as Obama's was. Dude, if you would have seen all the people trying to get in, but they had, for security reasons, to block off those entrances. So you actually see the same thing happen at this rally, but now you've got the media spinning it on the news, and of course that's all that most.
So what's the story? What's
see.
the story what's the point, I guess?
I think that it actually plays into Trump's overall narrative in his favor. I'm going to tell you why. What's the one issue, since you follow it so closely, Adam, what's the one big issue about the upcoming election? It's been, do we allow in-person voting thanks to coronavirus, or do we allow some sort of digital or mail-in of voting? And so Trump has been saying we don't allow mail-in voting because mail or fraud. Like, people don't have to show IDs. They can just mail in anything. And of course, you know, a lot of dead people still vote in our elections, and they tend to vote Democrat. So I think where he made his point was, oh, you don't think there's going to be election fraud? Well, look at what they did here at the rally. There was fraud here at the rally, and they were able to hijack the system. So what makes you think that they're not going to do it in the election? So I think it actually plays into his favor. I want to get you guys' opinions on that, but then I want to come back to what he did on stage. If you guys, did you guys see him throw the water? Okay, well,
When he drank it to say, I can handle it because he saluted 600
yeah,
times.
but did you see him throw?
No. The cup he threw.
Oh, bro, he just chucked his glass. But your thoughts, like, do you think that it hurt Trump's narrative, or do you think it somehow helped him?
So here's how I see it. Okay, I prefer to be the underdog. Okay, I prefer to have the position of underdog. The reason why, when you're the underdog, what happens?
Yeah.
It's a very easy card to play. Very, very easy card to play, because all you have to do is keep saying what to the other guy. I'm not supposed to win.
I'm not even supposed to be here.
I had a sergeant. His name was Sergeant Gutierrez. Okay, we still keep in touch. He sent me a nice message the other day. If you're watching this, Felix, shout out to you, man. This guy's the craziest guy out there, okay? One night, I think he beat us. He drank 26 beers. I could only do 23, and another guy did 24. We got into the sickest accident. I got 3 stitches in my head because of this guy. Middle of the night, they put a turban around my head with the what do you call it, sheets. I said, we got to go to the hospital. I'm bleeding. He says, no, you go right now. I'm going to get a DUI. I'll get demoted. I said,
Why? They put a turban on your head?
They put literally the sheets around my head. The whole thing was red, and I go into the hospital. They're like, wait a minute, we need to stitch you. You're not in a good condition. They put me in. I put 3 stitches. They tested him 3 hours later. Anyways, I'm not going to, he's probably watching this, but he's not in the Army anymore, so he's fine. He retired. Anyway, so one day we went out to a bar, and he was an incredible pool player. He would win tournaments left, and he'd go to Vegas and compete with everybody. He was that good.
Gutierrez.
Possibly the best player on the unit in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He was 5'6", 120 pounds, okay? And this was his play.
P.S.
Okay, let me tell you how this guy was. He had a couple lines. One of the lines he had was, I won't say the other one because the other one's about how he got the ladies, but here's a line. The one line he had is he would go up to the biggest guys at the bar and he would say, you got a problem? You got a problem? I want to fight. You want to fight? Let's go right now.
Unprovoked.
Bro, this guy had issues like this because, first of all, I'm behind him right
Hey,
there.
how you doing? I'm Gutierrez. Let's go.
And then he would always go against the big guys. And here's what he would say to the big guys. He says, let me put it to you this way. Do you realize, everybody at the bar, including your girl over there, is expecting you to beat me because you're the bigger guy. You're supposed to beat me.
Right.
I'm not supposed to beat you. But if I get that one lucky punch in, I swear to God, if I get that one lucky punch in, and you know I could get it, if I get it and you knock out, for the rest of your life, you have to live with this embarrassment. So let's go. Come on.
He was the underdog.
I said, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Nobody would fight him. Let me tell you, nobody would fight this guy, not because he didn't know how to fight. He couldn't fight him. He couldn't fight any. My 4-year-old daughter would beat this guy. He was not a fighter.
He was fake newsing him?
He was the biggest underdog against the favorite shit talker in the world. Trump, here's what he's saying. You're right. Nobody showed up. Watch the next one. That's exactly it. You're right. No one did show up. Hey, silent majority, where are you at? The silent majority is sitting around so furious with how much they're bashing him. Look what's going to happen to the next one. So there is a very thing you got to be careful with where you never, ever challenge the underdog too much because you could wake up an enemy. Sometimes you got to let it subtly go away, or else when they do show up, just like they did last time, because nobody thought he was going to beat Hillary. And we sat there 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there with Tom on the phone. I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened here? No one thought this was going to take place outside for Ann Coulter and a few other guys, right?
98% was the polls showing for Hillary.
If you ask me, I think this 100% plays into his hand because he knows that he's right now dividing them because he said, I hear AOC wants to take Chuck Schumer's job, and I think it would be better if she did take it because now he's pinning AOC against Chuck. Listen, he's a brilliant strategist, and he knows what he's doing. You got to tip your hat off to that. Strategically, he's a better strategist than all these other media guys out there because...
But he's not the underdog right now. Overall to Biden.
Against what, though?
You're saying in terms of the election.
Against what? The media. In the world of media, every single poll, he's down.
Right.
In every single poll, he's down.
Double digits.
Let me
tell you what I would be doing. Here's what I would be doing if I'm the Democratic campaign manager. This is what I'm doing. I'm getting on a call. Let's just say the DNC guy gets on with CNN,
Tom Perez,
with MSNBC, exactly. Tom Perez, they need to fire him ASAP. CNN, MSNBC, all these Washington Post, New York Times. I'm getting everybody on a call, underground call, which is what they need to be doing. And here's what I would say: flip the polls, show all the polls Trump winning. Stop showing the polls because you know the polls. You don't know who they're getting the polls from. They can manipulate the polls and hey, look the other way, right? I would show Trump with a 5-point lead on every single poll. Why? because then the Democrats are going to be like, guys, we're behind. We got some work to do. We can't let this guy win again. But they're making a marketing mistake showing everybody that Trump's behind. So guess what they're going to do? Democrats are not going to show up. Republicans are going to show up. Again, another market. You would have thought they would have learned from their mistake 4 years ago. They're doing the same thing over again.
Yeah, because...
So Tom, if you're watching this, give us a call. We typically charge a lot of money, but we'll give you free counsel on how to win this campaign. But he's not going to call. He needs help. He needs to hire a marketing manager. Those guys don't know what they're doing. This is a pretty easy thing to market on how to play.
Do you think people are really focusing on the election yet? Is this really?
Oh yeah.
You think
they started a year ago? Oh, of course.
But with Corona, obviously things have changed. I mean, clearly for the last 3 months, the sole focus has been on Corona.
I am telling you right now. They are not. Their strategy sucks tremendously. It sucks. They're not playing the right cards. When you're recruiting talent and you're bringing somebody in. If you are somebody I want, and you're somebody that's driven by doing crazy things and not doing normal things, right? And you're working for a company that used to be hungry 40 years ago, used to be hungry 60 years ago, their history's solid 30 years ago, but it's not today. I'm sitting down with you and guess what I'm talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. They're lucky to have you, but guess what? Your best years are ahead of you, but you're in a company where their best years are what? Behind them. You want to be with a company that's no longer aggressive with a guy like you, or do you want to come with a company like ours who is aggressive today, not aggressive 30 years ago? What do you want to do? If you're qualified crazy, that message turns you on and then you come on board. If you're not a qualified crazy, you're going to say, no, I like security, I like safety. Then you were never in the first place. Stay where you're at. I don't want you anywhere. You stay where you are. So the marketing they're doing right now with the way they're recruiting people as if they're expecting everybody to turn out and vote for Biden, and it's not going to happen.
Do you think it's scary that Biden has not done a press conference in 3 months? I mean, it's like they're keeping him hidden away. And, of course, there's a lot of speculation, dementia, and, I mean, heck, even Joe Rogan and them have come out and said, "What, this guy's got dementia. It's obvious." Now, I actually had a grandmother that passed from dementia, and you actually see a lot of the similar signs. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not going to make any sort of assumption or diagnosis as to, but like, why do you think they're hiding Biden? And then let me make a prophetic guesstimation here. I'm going to say they do not engage in a presidential debate. I'm going to say that Biden's team finds a way to weasel out of the debates.
You don't think they're going to have debates?
Nope. I think that
no debates.
I think they're going to find a way to weasel out of it because
there's going to be debates.
So,
well, the beautiful thing is we're going to find out.
But here's a question. Okay, go ahead and finish your point.
Well, do you honestly think that they're going to put Biden up there against Trump?
Yes, but not on a stage. They will do it on a Facebook Live with Mike. And somebody can feed the answers and all that. They're not going to do a live debate. So
why wouldn't they do a live debate?
He's going to get crushed.
If I'm them, I'm not doing a live debate. Here's the biggest factor here. The part that's going to help them here is what? The right VP they pick. They need a real good VP. There are a lot of people behind closed doors that are hoping for a brokered convention is what they're hoping for. And they're hoping Cuomo will, throw his, name in the, want to compete with them. And they're hoping maybe a Michelle, and they're hoping. It's all hope. But at this point of the game, in sports, today, in the NBA, what position can you win a championship with today? What position can you build around and win a championship
in the NBA?
With? Yes.
Not a center.
Well, let me ask you a different question. Today, if you want to build a championship in the NBA, which players can you build around to win a championship? That's the number one. Give me the names. Who can be a number one and you can win a championship?
I mean, you players' names?
Yeah, names.
Well, LeBron.
Okay, absolutely. Who else?
Kawhi.
Absolutely.
Giannis.
Absolutely. Who else?
I mean, you need.
Can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, go.
Can you build a championship team around Westbrook as the number one?
It's proven to be no.
No. The answer is no. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you win?
Keep going. This is fun.
Can you win a championship today? Putting your number one as, name me any one of them. Give me anybody out there.
Can you
Harden. Can you win with Harden as a number one for championship?
It's been proven no.
It's been proven no. You can't win with him as a number one. He's not a good number one. This game of politics is about who's the number one. He's not a good. Biden is an incredible number two. He's not. Obama's an absolute number one.
Right, sure.
There's no question about it. Clinton is an absolute number one. He's not. But Biden is a 2, and they made a mistake there. And by the way, here's what's even crazy. Sanders is a better number 1 than Biden. Sanders is, by the way, Biden is not even in the same league as Sanders as a number 1.
Can I interject here?
Sure.
I think, I mean, as a left-leaning Democrat, I can tell you I'm not impassioned. We're going for Biden. Let's do this. I think we're all aware that even a older, senile, 78-year-old Biden is not the answer. But the answer isn't let's go, let's take this thing over, let's go. It's let's get this country back to neutral. We have a drunk driver at the wheel right now. He's going crazy. He's holding MAGA rallies. We're not looking for a new Obama. Hold on. They're just, I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think everyone, even the Democrats, understand they're just looking to get back to neutral. That's all it is. They're not, no one's excited for Biden. Nobody. It's clearly this entire election is against Trump.
Who the hell is at the top of the Democratic leadership committee? Who is it? Who's it? Tom? Who is leading it? Because behind closed doors, you know, like, okay, remember the game Moneyball? You ever seen the movie Moneyball?
Of course.
Where they're sitting there saying, okay, here's a first base. I think we need to look at this first baseman. He's a good hitter. He hit 292 last year with 32 home runs. And he looks at the guy, and the guy goes, what?
Nope.
No.
Was that sabermetrics?
Yeah, says this person. There's got to be people behind closed doors that they're saying, Biden's not a good number 1. What are you guys thinking about? He's not a good guys.
Of course, there's people behind closed doors.
Why?
Of course.
Who chose for Biden to be number 1? Biden or the DNC? Who chose for Biden to be number 1?
I mean, didn't he just generally win the?
You're not hearing what I'm saying to you. Do you think the party chooses the leading candidate or the individual chooses the leading candidate? You want me to ask the question one more time? Okay. Who chooses the number 1? The party or the individual?
I would say the individual.
The individual?
Yeah.
Okay, so meaning what? In Trump's case, it's true.
Yeah.
But go pre-Trump.
Okay, then party.
Yeah, so don't assume with Trump, because Trump's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Go pre.
You mean with Romney?
But let me ask you, when did they decide that Obama could be a president? What
Way
year
before.
did they decide Obama could be a president?
When he came out in
04.
Yeah.
When did he become president?
08.
08. They chose him 4 years before. So you have to understand that if you have a DNC and you got a bench and you say, let's see how this guy does. Oh, he killed it. Let's see how he and his wife don't respond. Let's see. And then you put a deep bench, and behind closed doors, you're shaping their mindsets. You're talking to them. You kind of get in a feel. So what do you think about how this was? How would you handle this? Boom. What do you think about this? And then you get people that watch this guy for 2, 3, 4 years. And then you say, here's these guys. We got 7 people, 8 people. You put them in. To say Biden's your number 1, that is a scare. And by the way, here's what you got to realize. They asked Pete to throw in the towel. Pete was doing a great job. Pete was doing a fantastic. If you ever saw on stage, the most presidential guy on stage was Pete throwing the towel. Mary throwing your towel, throwing the towel. Elizabeth Warren throwing the towel. Everybody throwing the towel. They could have easily said, Biden, you throwing the towel, you throwing the towel. Let's get behind Pete. Let's get behind Mary. Let's get behind. Nope, everybody says let's get behind Joe. Who did that? Joe didn't decide that. The party decided that. The party's leadership team and marketing team sucks with the capital S.
So you think that Bernie Sanders got behind Biden being the number 1 and said, all right, let's go. You think Bernie did that? Because Bernie was the last one.
Let me put it to you this way. Bernie has a better chance of beating Trump than Joe does. Bernie had a better chance of beating
a socialist.
There is no question about it. He had a better chance. Look, how many followers does AOC have on Twitter? Can you pull up and see how many followers AOC has on Twitter? I'm going to guess she's at 5 million right now.
Kai in the house.
How many Kai? We got to give a shout out to our Norway buddy here. How many followers does AOC have on Twitter? Okay. Okay, that's crazy. I said 5 million. Do you realize just 4 months ago she was at 5 million? You know how many followers she has right now?
8 million.
7.3 million people. Say whatever you want about AOC. You don't get 7.3 million people by not having an army. You don't. Mm-hmm. You do not get 7.3 million followers by not having an army. What's the moral of the story? Here's what I'm saying with the 7.3 million people. The point I'm trying to make to you is, okay, Biden's 6.3, but when did that 6.3 start? By the way, the day Biden got on Instagram, I commented. Do you remember when Biden got on Instagram? I posted, I'd say, if Biden's on Instagram, he's officially running for president. That comment got like 30,000 likes. So Sanders, 9.9. So AOC has more followers on Twitter than Biden does. Sanders has more followers, and they're going up against a master Twitter guy. You mean to tell me
Look at that,
Biden?
82.3.
But he's at president just 5 years ago. If you look at the tweet he put about the
What's
fact
Barack
that
Obama at?
he's at 110, I believe. 119.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 119.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, listen, this guy.
What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
What about it? Obama.
impressive.
By the way, look at Obama when he posts a tweet, not a retweet. When he posts a tweet, keep going up. Right there, look, 571,000 likes. Keep going up. 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 Things that he posts, not articles he shares. Keep going up. Okay, you went. No, these are tweets and replies. Okay, but this is the point here. Sanders is a better number one than Biden. Biden's going to get crushed unless if they choose a better VP ASAP.
Do you think that possibly they put Biden with Obama because you have young black male, and so you balance the ticket by putting old white male to still, especially down in the southern states?
Listen, to me, when Obama gave that talk, the science behind the talk, he says, this is not about red. This is not about blue. This is not about black. This is not against white. This is not against, he gave that message. You know which talk I'm talking about?
Yeah, with the Roman pillars, he had the
magical message that he gave, right? Magical message that he gave. He sounded like a guy that could lead white, black, Asian, young, old. Doesn't matter what it is, right? When he gave that magical message that he gave. It's been broken down as one of the greatest messages given that touched up on every market, and it got independents to say, I'll vote for this guy. It even got some Republicans to say, I'll vote for this guy because it's history being made, right? Okay, what do Pence and Biden have in common? What do Pence and Biden have in common?
they're
The S word. What's the S word?
I was going to say they're vanilla.
Senile?
But
No, S word. So funny. What is the S word? Biden and
Salt
Pence.
and pepper hair? What?
They're safe.
they're safe.
When you have a
I said vanilla.
it's the
Yeah,
same thing.
safe.
Yeah, you're right. When you have a Trump,
Sexy?
Trump doesn't need another personality. When you have a Obama doesn't need another personality.
No.
These guys can hang, and they're fine the way they are. You get a safe number two that is a complete opposite of him. Trump's talkative, Pence, safe, Christian, extremely conservative, and Trump's not extremely conservative. He's a great marketer, right?
He's Trump.
Obama. You got what he got? Hey, get Biden. Quiet, fine. He can say what he says. Been around some. We can get the right people that we want. Here's a VP opportunity for you. You don't do Biden at number one, and you definitely don't do Biden or Pence as number one. Pence, I understand he's got some aspirations. I understand we may do some stuff with in the future. I understand that there's a lot of possibilities of what he,
Maybe not after this podcast.
the point I'm trying to make to you is even with him, if Pence goes as a number one, guess what Pence is going to need? A junior as number two.
Right.
Pence is going to need a loud, talkative, shit-talking number two. You got to balance those two out. So
Got to have the yin yang.
you go back and you look at who was George who was Ronald Reagan's VP. Who was Ronald Reagan's VP for 8 years? Former director of CIA.
Oh, it was George W. Bush. I
Okay,
mean, George
see,
Bush. Yeah, sorry.
Did he
you
have
stop me
a
for a second. George Bush, yes.
George Bush Sr.
No.
Was he charismatic?
Safe.
Phenomenal number two. By the way, who
Ain't
had
gonna do it.
who had more experience in politics? Him or Reagan?
George Bush.
There's not even
Of course.
nothing.
Reagan was an actor.
Reagan was a great number one. Okay, he's a great number one.
For sure.
Pre-camera, this mattered.
His speeches.
This didn't matter.
How did both you and I not know who Reagan's
Bro, I had a
VP was
I had
for
a
like a
brain
good-
freeze.
How does a guy
I was
who
like,
was not even in America?
I even had a shirt that said Reagan Bush on
Yeah.
it. Like,
So yeah, I think so.
Dude.
But by the way, some of the things that he said. What are some of the things that he said? Trump.
in fact, I actually campaigned, I think on the latter one, I was a kid and I literally stood out there and I played drums as a kid, and so we would put up a campaign sign, and then my friends and I would hold campaign signs, and we would play instruments on the side of the road in this little hick town that I grew up in. So I got started in the political realm.
Are you a Bush fan? Any of the Bushes?
Not now.
What happened?
Well, I've seen the way that.
Other than forgetting who it was.
So I think that there were things that they did that aligned with my values at the time, but now seeing the way that, number one, they've treated Trump, and number two, the more that you learn about stuff that they did in office, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not a fan of nepotism or anything that even smells like having a Bush senior and then having a Bush junior. so I realize that there's a popular conservative meme, and I love Trump Jr. I love Ivanka. Like, I think that they've done phenomenal jobs. I think one of the things that scares me is anytime that you have a father and then it seems like something's passed down to the son, it starts looking almost like it's some
Privileged?
privilege or
Ooh,
some
great callback.
some
A little nepotism.
yeah, like some sort of kingship. And that's the one thing that we ran away from. So when people start putting like, oh, this will trigger the liberals. We have Trump, and then we got Trump Jr., and then Eric, and then Ivanka, and then we got Barron. And I'm sitting here like, guys, this is exactly what we don't want as conservatives. Like, you got to mix it up a bit,
What does it mean to be conservative these days? That's a question I have. What's a conservative? And can you be... Is Republican equal conservative? Is conservative equal Republican? Are they two different? Have things changed since Trump's in office? Because it used to be synonymous. Now I'm not so sure. I would love to hear.
I would venture to say that Republican has to do more with how you govern from a law standpoint. Conservative has to do with the way that you govern from a legal standpoint, as well as, and I'm not talking about fiscal, but it's the way that you govern from a legal standpoint, and then your religious beliefs or your social beliefs.
So is Trump more of a Republican or is he more of a conservative? Where does he fall on the spectrum?
I would say that he is a Republican, a capitalist, and I believe that he is socially in the middle conservative. But I mean, he comes from a long line of leaning left on a lot of those
He's
issues.
not a Republican. Trump is not a Republican.
Why?
Trump is not a Republican. Trump just gave $3 trillion of stimulus.
Okay.
It's the biggest stimulus of all time. No Republican does that. Okay, that's not a Republican play. Hey, let's go bail people out. So he
Which I think we can both agree we weren't fans of the stimulus.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not a fan for what he did. I'm also not a fan for what we did last time when we bailed out companies. Last time we talked, we got to let some companies fail and go. They just got to go. Listen, things are built in a way where I believe a company CEO, it shouldn't be the same person for a long time. I don't believe it's good for a company for the same CEO to be there for a long time. I don't think it's a good idea. I think terms. 10, 15 years, great. 20 years max, fine. 30, 40 years, I don't think it's a good idea to do that. Because at some point, you got to bring somebody else that it matters more to be a CEO to that company. But I'm gonna say a couple things to you about Trump when you're talking about whether he's a Republican or not. So that's one. They asked him a question, so what do you think about gay marriage? Do you remember that question, what he said immediately? He said, it's a law now. I don't have nothing to talk about it. Next. That lasted 1 second. Moved on, okay? You think Trump cares about gay? You think that's an issue for him?
No.
You think, so if you go socially through some stuff, I think Trump is center right. I don't think Trump is Ted Cruz. I don't think Trump is Rubio. I don't think Trump is Bush. I don't think Trump is Reagan. I don't even think Trump is at Reagan's level of where he's at. Believe it or not, if Trump wasn't the shit talking, calling out, bullying, direct, go after people, no, holds barred, nothing. If he wasn't that guy, he would have actually been liked by Democrats. Not everybody, but I think the percentage of Democrats liking him would have been more, because no Democrat would have ever thought a Republican president's going to say $3 trillion at a time like this.
So I guess my question to you, and I can't remember if I was having this conversation with you or if it was with my wife. I think in order to do what Trump has done, you have to, a lot of people talk about, oh, he's arrogant. I think in order to be the kind of leader
100%.
that you have to have that arrogance.
At the level that he has, he takes it to a league of his own. I mean, you got to realize that. He takes it to
the arrogance.
Let me put it to you this way, though. We are both. The world is, when you had a chance to watch Michael play, you were lucky. Mm-hmm. When you had a chance to watch Michael play. Now, I'm not comparing him as the GOAT. That's not what I'm saying. That's his world. I'm not saying GOAT. When you had a chance to witness, the divisiveness of a certain era you lived in, where you're like, listen, we're living in crazy times. This is pretty crazy times. 50 years from now, we're going to read books and articles about Trump, and no one's going to believe it. 50 years from now, they're going to make a movie about this guy.
People also don't believe it right now.
And our grandkids are going to say, was he really like that? And you're going to say what? No, he really did say
Yeah.
that to Bush in the bus. And he became a president. Yeah. Dad, how did he pull this off? It's Trump. That's what you're going to say for the rest of your life because this is not duplicatable. You can't take this playbook and go say, you know how people say, I'm going to go to presidency. I'm going to use a playbook of what? Reagan. I'm going to go be a VP first, like a Bush senior, and then I'm going to be a one-term president. Okay. There is no playbook for Trump. You're either like him or you're not. It's crazy because last year at our event, you were talking about Bush. We had George Bush there, President George Bush there.
W.
And we had Kobe Bryant there, the late Kobe Bryant. We had Jordan Peterson. It was an incredible event when he was there. Very emotional. Kobe's interview, very, very emotional event. It was an incredible interview. I watch it every once in a while and I just sit there and say this was, and the best part about it was the conversation he and I had off camera. And the best part about it was the conversation I had with Bush off camera. So I get the message from Secret Service because there was only 3 people that had the special Secret Service sticker on their jacket, and I was one of them, and I got it. And they said, hey, come to the back. Sick. So they escort me to the back, and I'm walking, and there's literally a hallway in the back of Mirage, and I'm coming around. Guess who bumps into me right in front of me? Right in front of me. Who bumps into me? President Bush. Wow. He says, oh, hey, you're Patrick. I said, yes, President Bush. All right, let me use the restroom. I'm going to come back. We need to talk. And so he came back. Wow. We went to the back. We spoke for 45 minutes to an hour. And my biggest concern was when I announced him as a speaker, our company is split, half and half. So you got half Democrats and you got half Republicans. It's 60-40 is what it is. Okay, 60-40 is what it is.
Which direction?
Probably more conservative because it's more business owners and entrepreneurs. Typically the way it breaks down.
But pretty even split.
A very even split, 100% even split. And the best part about it is we all get along.
Yeah.
We have different opinions and we all get along. This is the culture that we built from day one. That was last year. When they were doing the pictures, 100 of our guys got a chance to meet them and take pictures. I wanted to hear what people were saying. And I knew who my Democrats are in the company. So I was sitting there and I was just watching these guys. And they were talking to President Bush. 95% of the time, this is what people said. President Bush, I got to tell you, I grew up thinking you're the Antichrist. I hated you. You were this, you were that. But after listening to you today for an hour, I just like you. I never thought I would like you. Mm-hmm. You're just such a cool guy to listen to. And he was like, yeah, well, you know, it's the story of my life, you know, and he goes into the story that he talks about.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
So, and then this year, let me tell you what we were getting ready to do. And last minute, I said, we're not doing this. So we've been talking to the Barack Obama camp for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And I wanted to bring him because this is potentially the last one where I may be as the CEO and et cetera, because we're hiring some people right now. And I said, let's get close to the President Obama. I'd love to have him to the event because I think it'd be historic to have somebody like him. And then we started talking to him. And we got close. It's getting closer. We're about to sign the deal. We're talking to his people. They're considering it. He's looking at it. He's talked to, you know, because Bush and him are friends. So, hey, if it's a safe place, and President Bush wrote me a real nice letter that's on the wall right there, handwritten letter that he sent over here. So we're about to get him. Then I said, you know what? I'd love to also get Trump.
The greatest president.
So I say, here's what I like to do. What if we held a convention and we rent out MGM? Okay, you got to cut a nice $7 million check. So we're renting out MGM. We're shutting down the hotel. It's going to be us. 10, 15,000 people are going to show up, all the agents in the company. And we're working on Trump to come and do a rally, and we're working on Obama to see if we can pull this up. Now, you can't do without telling either party that the other person's going to be there. So the chances of this happening wasn't very high, but we had to choose at one point. But I said, what if we can get both of them? Just 6 weeks ago, is Mario here? No, 6 weeks ago, I had a call, probably 4 weeks ago, I had a call with Sheena and Matt, and it was Jose and Marlene, Tikran and Maral. And I said, guys, here's what we were going to be doing. And I said, I'm leaning towards not doing it. Sheena says, Pat, I think it's a good idea we don't bring either one of them. Because it's so divisive that at a time like this, we just said, let's just maybe not this year, maybe another time, because right now things are crazy. But yeah, Bush to me, you know, he seemed like a pretty interesting guy when we spent time with him. I really enjoyed the time we spent with him. I've done some events at his library here, but people have different opinions about him. When you bring up Bush, 9/11 comes up, a lot of different things come up. Mm-hmm. And I think some of these families are getting a little too comfortable with each other. You got to be comfortable with them when it comes down to, you got to be a little bit uncomfortable when it comes down to politics. Okay.
I have a note here.
Tell me.
This might be the perfect segue. I was looking for a good segue with this.
What's this?
And the note is PBD versus Trump CEO. Okay? So this is, you might not like this segment, but I'm going to go there. So I was thinking, I woke up at like 3:30 this morning. I took a bath.
PBD versus Trump.
Just kidding.
4:30?
Yeah,
in the jacuzzi.
in the bath. I'm in the jacuzzi.
jacuzzi?
I'm thinking,
Yeah,
what would
whatever.
Trump do? And here's what I've witnessed. I've been here 2 weeks now, observing how PBD operates as a CEO, and it was like almost like an epiphany. And I look around the office, and I look who you hire, and here's what I love about what you're doing, and this is my biggest problem with Trump, and I'm going to make the analogy and the comparison. You have white, black, Latino, women, people of all different races, colors, shapes, sizes. You don't discriminate. The best man wins. The best woman wins. Multiculturalism. You're not divisive. If you make people compete, let the best man or woman win. It's admirable. It's truly admirable. And then you look at what Trump is doing, and it's divisive. It's pretty much not multiculturalism. I don't know what you're pulling up here. It's
About to destroy you, Adam.
Okay.
About to destroy you.
Sure, you're going to basically say how Trump has improved blacks' job jumpers.
Nope.
Okay. But the point is, I've seen how a true CEO operates and can run a company and can inclusive, make everybody compete, meritocracy, let everybody, let the best man and woman win, where Trump is divisive, plays to his base specifically. Trump had an opportunity when he came into office to potentially pass an infrastructure bill and bring the country together or do something to unite the country. But no, he went right to his base. He plays to his base. There's a reason that Trump's polls numbers for the last 3.5 years are between 40 and 42%. His base, they have not shrunk and they've not gone up anywhere near 50%, maybe for like a hot minute. And that's ultimately my point, is that a true CEO, and obviously you're not running the country, but if they pass a law, I have a feeling you would run one day if they let a nice Iranian refugee run for president. But that's my biggest problem with Trump. I'm not even looking to be argumentative here. It's kudos to you of what you've built, but it's also that's where I'm at on Trump. That's my biggest problem with Trump. My opinion on Trump: divisive, not inclusive. Tell me why I'm wrong, Josh. Tell me why he's the greatest.
I'm going to tell you why you're right and why you're wrong, okay? So I will say this. Do I think that PBD would make an incredible president? And if somehow they were able to rework the 14th Amendment, I think it is, hands down, okay? So, and I'm not blowing smoke up your rear, okay? I love the fact that you build people. You build, like, just being on your Zooms and watching the way that you deal with like,
that's incredible.
You're into building people. Now, let me respond to this ridiculous, asinine allegation from my counterpart over here on the other microphone. Mm-hmm. When it comes, and even according to the Washington Post, the most liberal rag in the flipping nation, even they can agree. You want to know who's one of the greatest hiring CEOs when it comes to diversity? It's Donald Trump. Think about this. The people close to him, women. He hires women and puts women in leadership roles at a far greater rate than any other CEO.
Are you talking about at his company or
yes.
Since he's been president?
Yes. And
I'm specifically talking about how he divides our country.
Bro, look.
That's specifically what I'm talking about.
Even Washington Post said 2016, the year he was elected, was the year of the woman. He appointed more women into
fake news.
No. Bro, this is the Washington Post. Donald Trump, a champion of women.
The same rag that Trump calls fake news. So what's to believe?
I'm literally telling you that if
when it's news that he agrees with, watch this. Look at this. But when it's news he does agree, it's fake news.
Sure. So
can't have it both ways.
Okay. No. Wait. Don't move on.
PBD for president 2024.
Hold on. So if PBD hates me and says disparaging stuff about me, when he actually says something nice, are you more inclined to believe it? 100%. So what I'm saying is even the Washington Post, and I would encourage people to go do a little Google search. In fact, when I was in D.C., I actually had President Trump's limo driver happen to be my limo driver. Okay?
That's that white privilege.
Yeah. And he was a Muslim gentleman, and he started telling me stories because we got caught up in the riots and all that stuff, and we ended up sitting there for a considerable amount of time. And he ended up telling me stories. And during that time, everyone's talking about the potential of the Muslim ban and does Donald Trump hate Muslims and stuff. And this Muslim gentleman told me stories. He said, if you only knew what a loving man President Trump was, and he told me a very personal story. Like, I mean, he was crying. He said he experienced, and I'm not going to name this individual, but he experienced a guy in Trump's company that did something that was extremely demeaning to him. He said that Trump grabbed that guy, brought him down when he found out about it, and made him apologize to the limo driver personally, and said, if you ever insult my driver again. Later, that guy's wife develops cancer, and he pays the guy for 2 years to take off, pays for her surgery, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, all I'm saying is this. There is this media bias towards Trump, continually saying that he's racist, that he's bigoted, that he's divisive and stuff. But when you actually look at the facts say something completely different. So I challenge people to go Google Donald Trump hiring practices, and you're going to find minorities and women do really, really well at Donald Trump's companies.
Counterpoint here. You know what's funny? What I'll give you? I'm sure behind closed doors and behind the scenes, Trump's actually not as bad as he is in the media, on TV, on what my eyes are seeing and what my ears are hearing. I'm actually sure that if he wasn't the president, he wouldn't be that hated of a figure.
$1,000 challenge. $1,000 challenge right now.
Go ahead.
I will donate $1,000 to the charity of your choice.
The DNC. Go ahead.
Okay, it's not a charity, but fine. I will donate $1,000 right now to the charity of your choice if you tell me one racist thing that Donald Trump has said.
Oh my God, where do I start?
Oh, I'm so glad, because guess what? That's whatever. Oh, there's so many things. Name one racist thing that he said.
So, I mean, obviously the thing that comes to mind is the thing in Charlottesville when he's like, there were good people on both sides, when there were protesters and then there were white supremacists on one side. So you're going to say, well, actually, they're going to give me a story, but if you actually look and contextualize what happened, there were literally white supremacists on one side.
No.
And then people who were saying, we don't want hate in our country.
Nope.
And he couldn't enough to be like, look, the white supremacists, you guys got to go. Thanks a lot. Exit stage left. He couldn't even say that.
So let me go ahead and call bullcrap on that.
Okay.
Number one, at Charlottesville, if you actually go back and do your research, you'll find that it was people there that were protesting. In fact, black guys. I happen to know one of them. Okay, that were
one black guy that likes Trump. You know that guy?
No.
That guy's
that
great.
were there protesting them.
Where's my black hat? There he is, right there.
That were there protesting them taking down certain statues that they felt were very important to their history there. So these were just watch.
Okay, yeah, I want to know the statue.
Okay, so
because that'd be a good segue into these statues these days.
So you've got a group of people from that city of different colors, different ethnicities, kinds, and such that are there protesting them taking down the statue. What you then have is a very small group of white supremacists, and you find the same thing with these idiots over at Westboro Baptist Church. They'll show up at some protest, and guess what? They make the whole protest about them. So they stand in front of the cameras, and they're the ones that are on cameras, and everyone thinks it was a Westboro Baptist thing. So what do the white supremacists do? That's exactly what they do. So what Trump, being informed, he says, no, look, there were good people out there from both sides. He did not condone white supremacy. In fact, he did quite the opposite. And the problem with the media is that the media will not report those things. Now, my question to you still stands. Tell me one racist thing that he said. $1,000 to the charity of your choice.
You're familiar with the term dog whistle? It's not so much that he'll come out and say, all right, I don't like blacks. All right, lesbians suck. All right, you gays got to get the hell out of here. It's that he doesn't disown when people go down that path. He dog whistles. I don't know David Duke. Who?
Dog whistle.
I know Marmaduke. I don't know David Duke.
Dog whistle is the biggest bunch of baloney. In fact,
Josh, here's when you're going to get credibility. You ready?
If that's
I have something to say.
Hold on. If that's the case, then the other day, PBD dog whistled to every white supremacist out there, and I'll prove it to you. I actually have a screenshot. I won't pull it up now, but I think I sent the screenshot to someone. So this right here has become now supposedly white power. Okay, so this little hand signal here supposedly has become the signal for white power. The other day, PBD in the middle of our deal went like this for 1 second, but he's making a point. Okay, and zero. All right. Okay. Now,
and you screenshotted that?
I got the screenshot of it. All right. Now, why
are you screenshotting that?
Because to simply prove a point. Now, the other point that I was going to prove was somewhat funny that was just going around in a text between us.
Okay, so let's make your point and let's move on with this one.
My point is this, is that this dog whistle bullcrap, like you can't point to one single racist thing that he said. And I just offered $1,000.
How about we do this? How about we do this? You're going to have time. Look for it next time if you want to get that $1,000 to charity. Come back. By the way, anybody that's watching this, comment below. If you remember a comment made, when was it?
When was Donald Trump ever said anything
even
racist?
Better,
please.
If there is a link when he said it, share the link below so Adam can see it.
In case I'm here, we're looking for Donald Trump.
Okay, so now
racist tweets.
Let's talk about the next party because we've gone so far a lot of different things. We'll get into some of the statues, but let's do business again. Ben and Jerry's, okay? Ben and Jerry's recently has taken a very strong position with Black Lives Matter, and if you look at their Instagram posts, one after another, you've been seeing what they've been talking about. Josh, your thoughts on this?
Okay, I got a couple of thoughts here. Obviously, I can go in and I can talk about defund the police and how stupid that is, but let me move on to what I think they are doing wrong here. When you are a brand, you're an ice cream brand, and now you are weighing in. Now, someone could fact check me here. I don't know this to be the case. I'm assuming Ben & Jerry's probably a publicly traded company. Okay, I think that you have a responsibility to the people that have bought into your brand to not do anything that is purposefully divisive or can take away from essentially the bottom line and the revenue in your brand. So say they come out and they take a side. Now what have you done? You've alienated half the country, and we've seen what's happened to that with cancel culture. And I'll say this on both sides because I've played into cancel culture of Starbucks. Okay, so I think it's stupid, it's ignorant for the CEO to do something that's going to be divisive, no matter what I think of their idiotic message.
Response. Before they went out and took this position, you don't think they had a conversation internally and said, all right, guys, here's what's going down. Here's the direction we want to go as a company. You don't think they had that conversation?
I don't think they took it to their stockholders.
Okay, I'm just saying internally. So they knew what they were doing. Number two, marketing. We're talking about Ben & Jerry's right now. Number three, do you remember when Nike came out and supported Colin Kaepernick? Yep. They said they made a decision. All right, guys, we're Nike. Everyone buys Nike tennis shoes. Yep. We can say nothing. We can say something. We can support the police. We can support the flag. We can support. Where do we stand? Where do we stand as a company? And what did they choose? Who did they choose, PPD? What did they do? They chose Cap. And what happened to their stock prices?
They made like $5 billion the next day or next week.
Tell me why.
Who's their base?
Okay, I'm just.
But what's your point? Where are you going with this?
Ben & Jerry's, they're not stupid idiots. They're not just lollygag. They're not just walking into this mess. They knew what they were doing. We're talking about Ben & Jerry's. I don't know if they're a publicly traded company or not, but I'd like to see what happens to their stock prices.
They're a publicly traded company.
Let's see what happened to their stock prices, and let's see who wins.
Okay, so this company, I think they were founded in '78. I don't know what the year is. It's a founder, Ben & Jerry. They're Jewish.
They're liberal.
And one guy's name is Greenfield something. If you look at the and the current CEO is a guy named Matthew something. The founders' names are Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield. Okay, but what year? 1978. Yeah, I was right. So go back and put Ben & Jerry's CEO. I think the guy's name is Matthew McCarthy. Okay, there you go.
They were founded in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to their headquarters. I was just there like a couple months ago. We got a private tour of the entire place. Real unique place.
Did you have ice cream?
Yes, we did. Absolutely, we did. I'm a Haagen-Dazs guy. I used to work at my loyalty is with Haagen-Dazs. Here's the thing that I don't care. Okay, If they want to do that, and if that's where they stand, and a majority of the company, the owners are who? Ben and Jerry. They want to do that. Guess what? They're liberals. And if you go, Kai, go down and type in on Ben. No, go all the way up. Go all the way up and click on Kai in Wikipedia, buddy. Go on Wikipedia.
Kai, vagina spelled with an A, buddy.
Click on Ben Cohen. Go to Ben Cohen, the bottom left founding. Look at Ben Cohen right there on the founding. Click right there. Bottom left on the page you're on.
Bottom
right
left.
There. Ben
Right
Cohen,
there.
founding. Click on him.
Yeah.
Colgate University BA, March 18, 1951, 69 years old, American businessman. Okay, right there. Bennett Cohen is an American businessman and what?
Activist.
Okay, so guess what? He's staying true to his vision of what he wants to do. I don't have a problem with them doing it. Why? Because the founders are taking this position. Because Matthew couldn't do this without the approval of the founders. Now,
For sure.
having said this, let's go to a different. I'm gonna give you a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
Let's set them aside. What they're doing, all good, no problem. You do it. But go to a company that wants to take a position like this, where the founder's dead. Okay. So let's just say Apple were to take this position. Jobs is not here. Tim Cook has taken a position of a thing that Jobs would never do. Jobs was famously known for a guy who had $40 billion in cash and he never gave a penny to charity. And they hated him for it. Why don't you give to charity? I don't want to, it's our cash. Jobs wasn't a big charity guy and he got a lot of criticism for it, right? Tim Cook is slightly different, but I'm gonna give you a different angle. Why did Nike take a position of cap? Why did they do it? If they're sitting there in their board, here's what they're thinking about. In every family, one of your parents, if you make a comment, you're walking on eggshells with them. In your family, you may say, if I say something sensitive, my dad is like this. He'll snap immediately. But my mom is more what? Forgiving. Yes or no? Does everybody have something like that? Would you say that as well?
Yeah.
Somebody, your dad's more forgiving than maybe
it's
your
flipped
mom.
for us.
Your mom's going to break down the
Your
hammer.
mom is not forgiving in your family.
What'd you say, boy?
Okay. And your dad, the king of, your dad is going to be a different guy, right? Okay.
You almost went that.
but I didn't say it. I almost said it, but I didn't say it. Okay.
Cancel culture.
You have to go to dinner with this guy to find out what I just said right there. Now watch this. Whenever a side is more sensitive and you walk on eggshells, you don't want to piss that side off. But you don't mind doing something that the other side's going to be more easier to deal with. For example, let's just say a parent is involved trying to please two kids, okay? One kid, you can, betray him a little bit, but he'll what? He'll forgive you. You can spend more time with his kids, and I'm the dad, and you got kids. I can spend more time with his kids, and you're pissed off at me, but you'll forgive me. But if I spend too much time with you, he won't talk to me for a year. So guess what? He's more sensitive than you are. Nike made the decision saying we have Republicans, we have Democrats. Which side is more forgiving if we go the other side? Are Republicans more okay if we go
That's a good
and
viewpoint.
defend the Democrats?
You're gonna eat Ben and
or
Jerry's
are
every day?
Democrats more okay if we go on the Republican side? I guarantee you the board sat there and say, Republicans will forgive you. Democrats won't forgive you.
Dude.
And they made a decision to go there. So when you think about real business, you have to think about the sensitivity sides of both sides.
But why say anything? If you're an ice cream company.
Because they made them billions by making a position like that. And Ben and Jerry, you think Republicans are not going to eat Ben and Jerry because of the position they take? But they could care less. They're going to go eat in Ben and Jerry's. They're not going to do that, but they just gained a whole level of publicity and an audience that
Like
they
I
probably
said,
weren't
it's
getting.
Amazing marketing.
All personally,
But
be
it doesn't have to do with the way you're thinking with amazing marketing. It's not about that. It's bigger than that.
Okay.
It's much bigger than that. There is a side that is more vocal than another side. And people naturally want to avoid conflict. And the avoidance of conflict today, you don't want to have conflicts with the Black American community, with the African American community. That's simple what it's at right now. You probably don't want to play that card today.
So let me point something out here. Dan Cathy, the president, the founder of Chick-fil-A, he was willing to go against the LGBT community. Obviously, it blew up into this. He stood firm and fast on his biblical principles there. Okay. And obviously you saw, there were lines for flipping a mile. But what's interesting when it came to the BLM, he actually flipped positions. Now, I don't know what this says, except that maybe he's a lot more concerned. But you actually see him in a video that he did with Lecrae. You actually saw him take a totally different stance than I thought that he would. And it's kind of interesting from somebody that is a really strong conservative that Dan Cathy would actually flip position. So I don't know if that means that he thinks that this is a much more sensitive topic. It could hurt his market share more than the whole.
This is Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I know the answer.
Why?
Dave Chappelle once said it in one of his comedy bits. He goes, "It's no secret. Blacks and chickens are quite fond of one another."
Oh my God.
This was Dave Chappelle, quoting Dave Chappelle.
Our show just got canceled.
No, not. This is Dave Chappelle, greatest comedian of all time. I mean, I don't think that was a raise. I'm zero. 90% of my friends are black.
He's top 5.
Top 5.
He's top 5.
Who's ahead of Dave Chappelle?
You're seriously undermining history if you say the greatest comedian is Dave Chappelle.
He's better than Richard Pryor.
You're really undermining a lot of history.
Who's better
if
than
you
Dave
say that.
Chappelle?
I'm not saying he's
Working
not.
comedian right now.
Working comedian?
Yeah, right now.
I'm not saying today. I'm saying like if you go peak against peak.
Yeah.
Okay, peak against peak. Are
You're going to say Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy at peak was legendary.
I mean,
you got
yeah.
Robin
Eddie
Williams.
Eddie Murphy Raw
Robin
for that.
Williams. Do you forget the time?
I don't know about Robin
George,
Williams.
are you
George
seriously
Carlin, I'm a
forgetting
huge
Carlin?
fan. I'm a huge fan of George
So
Carlin.
He is a top 5.
Okay, can I just say something just before people go freak out and go crazy? I did stand-up comedy for 5 years.
Yeah.
So like, as a stand-up comedian, like let's just calm tensions down.
So look,
he's a top 5.
I loved Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mitch Hedberg, rest in peace. Amazing.
Dude.
But not top 5.
Oh man, I can listen to him for hours, but it was just his sense of
Listen, I can listen
for hours is one joke.
I can listen to Bill Burr for hours.
Oh no, I can't do Bill Burr.
I can do Bill Burr for hours, and some people can't stand him, but I can do him for hours.
Greg Giraldo, rest in peace, if you remember him.
yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Rest in peace. What? No.
Rest
what?
in
What?
peace.
What?
To me, you can't say something like that. Next thing you know,
yeah.
rumors.
Cancel
Jerry
it. Yeah.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's alive.
Last topic here today. We're getting
Jerry
close to
just
2
texted
hours.
me. He's
let
fine.
me ask you a question. Question for you guys. Statues being taken down. Is it okay? Is it fine? People are upset.
Who they taking down? Tell me.
Teddy's got to come down. You got
Who?
Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt,
Every
Churchill.
single Confederate statue, take it down. Why isn't it down already? Done.
You believe that?
Take it down.
Take all Confederate
Confederate
down. Tell me
statues
why.
done. Good.
Tell me why.
Why are they up?
Tell me why.
Get them out of here.
But tell me why, though.
Honestly, I don't have like some deep, like this is why this
But
is.
why?
They're
If
Confederate.
that's a very strong statement you're making right there.
I'm not saying that you should be taking down George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. That's a slippery slope. No way. Keep the founding fathers up. If you are a Confederate and you are, there's a statue, Confederate.
Why though? Why?
Because they were racist, anti-American. They lost the war. They lost. They're out.
Anything that's Confederate, take all of them down.
Get them all out of here.
Okay.
So I'm actually glad you said that. So
Yeah,
let me give you a little bit of
obviously
a
the
history
Trump fan
lesson.
wants
Paul,
to.
what's going on over here? You guys trying to signal something to us or no?
So
We're about 2 hours 15, and we're all good.
Okay.
perfect.
All good.
So not every Confederate was actually in favor of slavery. A lot of them just
They
wanted,
just fought for it.
well, no, they wanted Southern states' rights. Now, obviously, we know that slavery is abhorrent. Just a little trivia question for you: what percentage of Americans do you think owned slaves?
What
Owned
What?
or owned?
Owned.
Owned.
Less
What
than
percent? Probably less. In what year? What are we talking about? This is a crazy
at the
question.
height of slavery.
Rich white landowners, probably less than 5% of the United States.
Less than 1%.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's funny because you see that there's all of the. Now I personally, I'm totally fine for people taking down statues. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think that we should get rid of democratic history. Because if you look at it, all of those racist slave owners were all Democrats. In fact, they just took down four pictures out of the congressional hall, former speakers of the House that were all pro-segregation. They were all Democrats. All of them Democrats.
Things
Now,
change
hold
over
on,
time.
though. Hold on.
150 years ago,
Complete-
Republicans were
No.
were the party that freed slaves.
Exactly. Republican.
And now they got Trump. So clearly things change.
No, obviously you don't look past the surface of the issue. Okay, so the Republican Party has never changed. All right. Now let me go one step further. Do you think that Yale should change its name?
Yale?
Yale. Do you know that Yale was named after Elihu Yale, who happened to be, wait a minute, are you ready for this? A slave trader. The guy was a slave trader. You can Google this guy, Elihu Yale. The guy that they named Yale after was a slave trader. I don't see one BLM activist. I don't see one protester or rioter. I don't see anybody from the liberal left going after.
Slave? Type in slave?
Yeah.
No, go back and type in slave. Yeah, it's slave owner. Slave.
Slave. Ooh, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? He was a racist slave trader in the East India Company. Okay? And you can go and you can look through it all. The guy that Yale is named after. Now, my question is this. Why is nobody going after Yale?
Should they?
Clearly they are.
Well,
You're bringing it to their attention. I mean, people clearly people are talking
But
about
let's just say this. Should they change the name?
I would have no problem if I mean, I don't.
But wait a minute. You said every Confederate statue taken down.
So let me be clear about something.
Yeah.
The Confederates lost the war, yeah? Yes or no?
yes.
They lost the war, okay? They didn't win. Why do they have statues in America today? It's America now. We have
These
one
were
flag
all
now.
these
We
were
have
all
one flag
Americans.
now. We
These
have
were
one-
all Americans.
Okay, but the Confederates lost the war.
Bro, do you realize that these hold on. Do you realize these idiots out there are not even just taking down the they're flipping burning statues of Abraham Lincoln. They're burning statues of abolitionists.
I don't agree
They're
with
toppling
that. I don't agree with that.
Like it's absolutely stupid to me
If someone's
that these
taking
people
down a
have not
statue
taken
of
American
Abraham
history.
Lincoln, that is horrible.
These people have not taken enough American history to understand that they are literally taking down.
Your point is you should keep Confederate statues up.
So here is why. Again, I don't care about Confederate statues, but let me tell you why I believe.
But take them down or keep them up?
Watch. Here is why I believe that we should keep certain statues up.
Tell me.
Even to your point, if supposedly they are quote unquote racist, there is an old adage that says, and a very wise adage, is that those that do not know and recognize history are doomed to repeat it. Honestly, I think that we should keep up stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable for the specific purpose of making sure that we can look at certain things in our history that we hate. I think that we should be forced to look in the mirror at certain things and say, man, that's a scar on American history we don't want to repeat.
Okay, cool. I'm okay with that because, you know, as a Jew, you can go to Poland right now. You can go go to the March of the Living and go see the concentration camps in Auschwitz.
Sure.
There's a reason that they keep it up. So, like you said, those that fail to, give me the quote?
Those that fail to recognize history
are doomed to repeat it.
it.
Okay,
Now,
cool.
let me ask you this. Do you think I should go over to Egypt right now and knock down the pyramids because they enslaved us in order to build them?
I don't get involved in Egyptian history.
Pat?
But I'm just...
Do you think that we should go back 5,000 years and knock down the pyramids because the pyramids were built by slaves?
Let me tell you my problem.
Yeah, go ahead. Give us your opinion.
Let me tell you my problem here, and then let's wrap up. And this will be our second one that's going in the can.
Let's end on a positive note.
Yeah,
though.
we will. But you know,
We'll hug.
But,
We always
on
do.
this one here, here's my problem with it. So in our company, we have 16,000 agents. Okay, when we were coming up, one of our guys, his marriage didn't work out, and it was not pretty. It was ugly. There was another girl involved, et cetera, et cetera. Wasn't a pretty situation. And immediately, everybody went to judge this guy. Okay, everybody, this guy. Immediately, judge, constantly. It was very ugly, behind closed doors. And I went up there and I pulled these guys aside one by one. I called everybody. God knows for how long. I was on the phone with these guys for hours at a time because it was so ugly that it almost cost the company everything. Because the situation was in a way where I'm a diehard fan of this guy. I'm supportive. I'm defending him. I'm trying to, this is a guy I want to see win in a big way. But he made a mistake. Okay, when he did, and I'm talking to these other guys, I would take him to Spawn. I would have conversation. But I don't agree with what he did. It's okay. Let me ask you a question. We're in a pool right now. Yeah. Let's do an extra. Everybody, get out of the pool. We got out of the pool. We're at this jacuzzi at Melrose. It's a Voda spa, Russian spa. Shout out to Stephen Affo because he introduced me to this place. So we get out. I said, I want to do an exercise. We're gonna do an exercise right now together. You guys ready? Yeah. Everybody line up. Everybody line up by the pool. What are we doing? Racing? No, I want you to line up. Line up by the pool. Great. Okay. I want you to walk on water to the other side. Go ahead. Go ahead, guys. Who wants to go first? You go first. Everybody says, you go first. They start like, no, I want you to do it right now. Go ahead and walk across. None of them could do it. I said, listen, judge if you can walk on water.
Yeah.
If you can't walk on water, listen, I understand what's going on over here. They made a mistake. What's the moral of the story? Here's what the moral of the story is. I always say, if the crew here, it's me, Kyle, Guy, Paul, you, Josh, Kai, we are put in a house for 90 days. We're supposed to live together. 90 days, okay? If everybody here starts snorting cocaine for every single day, for
Sounds
30
like a
straight
party,
days,
Paul.
if everybody's snorting cocaine for 30 days, the person that's left alone will be tempted very soon to try it at least one line. The world of temptation is an ugly place to be. What does this mean? When you're living in a time where certain things are normal, you just kind of do what's normal at that time. It's obviously not normal today. There's a lot of stupid things people did that was normal back in the days. That's not normal today. You can't say, well, because today that would have been abnormal, let's get rid of all the history. You can't do that. It's part of history. You don't have to accept history. You can't sit there and say, I don't like what Churchill did. There's a lot of things Churchill did that was dumb. Churchill was an annoying person. He pissed a lot of people off. He was rough. He was edgy. He was just a very difficult human being. If you read, Kai's a big Churchill guy. You read this guy is a very complex human being. He's hated by a lot of people. But let me tell you something. If there's no Churchill, you and I are speaking German right now.
Right.
If there's no Churchill,
True.
we don't even know what life would look like right now. If you really, you may not even be here right now, by the way, just so you know this. If there's not a Churchill, right? There's a lot of different
Either
things.
would you, fake Jew.
So for us to sit here and bash a lot of these guys, if you sit there and only take the bad from what I've done and you forget about my good, it's a slippery slope. So I'm not one that sits here and says people didn't do bad things. I'm not one to do. I'm not one that sits there and says, oh my gosh, people walk. No. But I'm also not one that says that's part of history. Leave it to history. Let's go study it. And let's learn what not to do. Not let's delete it out of our head as if it didn't happen. It happened. What do you want to do about it? There's nothing. So that's my position. Some of this stuff is just purely pathetic that we're doing what we're doing.
So your point is you can keep the statue up, but to Josh's point, if you don't remember history, you're doomed to repeat it. So you keep it up to say, this is an example of how not to be.
If you're a professor, which historical figures would you be teaching the most out of? You're a professor, you're teaching history. Name me 5 characters you would teach the most out of. 5 characters, so we don't repeat history again. If
Hitler?
You're a professor of history, who would be at the top of your list? Would Hitler
So you
be
don't repeat history
So you
again?
don't repeat it. Who's at the top of your list?
Hitler,
Give me
Stalin,
those.
Lenin,
Why are you
Mao,
teaching all
right.
the bad people? I'm sorry, why are you teaching all the bad people?
Because you asked if you don't want to repeat it.
Isn't that the whole part of history? So we
course,
don't
of
repeat
course,
stupid
of
mistakes in the
course,
past.
of course, of
So
course.
can you imagine if we do history and we don't talk about good people? What a stupid history class.
But and believe me, I don't want to go too deep on this, but you can still cover the Civil War. You can still talk about bad people without having statues of them. It's the statues.
At that time, the
Okay.
people who voted for it thought it was the right thing to do at that time.
Okay.
At that time. You want to make up for it? Guess what? Here's what I'd like to see. Who do you like right now? Let's build a new statue of him. You want a statue of George Floyd? Let's go build it. I'm all for it. You want to build a statue of certain people that matter the most today? Let's go, because it's part of our history today. 50 years from now, we're still going to know about George Floyd.
So can you ever take a statue down? Ever?
If you want to do it in a way that's a amicable way where people have a say in it in that community. And if they do, great.
So all right. So maybe we're getting somewhere. Can you have a vote to remove a statue?
100%.
Sure.
Okay. So you can't. So the question is, you can't just run up. All right, we're taking the statue.
I'm not.
Yeah, either. Okay.
I'm not for that.
Just so we're clear, I'm not just in favor of just.
When they took down Saddam,
take them all down. Take them all down.
When they took down Saddam Hussein's statue,
Sure.
Who wanted to take it down? 1% or everybody? What percentage of people wanted Saddam Hussein's statue to come down when it was taken down?
Well,
It seemed like everybody.
What percentage would it be? The guy ruined people's lives.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody.
That's not one person you're
Right.
talking about. When you're talking about, but that's right
So-
there. You're connected to it. It's in that moment
So
right
they
there.
should have a vote
They should have
in
a
the
vote.
state or the city. Should we remove
Listen,
Whitey McWhiterson's
again,
statue
listen, for
and
me-
take it down?
For me,
if they vote, we'll
for
see.
Adam, this is all
Yeah.
it goes back to. My son, I go to school, okay? My teacher said, your son said the F word. So I go to school and say, your son cursed a lot. Well, what did he say? He said the F word. I'm like, shit. It's a Christian
That's
school.
where he got it from.
So she says, I said, he probably did. Do you curse? Yeah, I curse. So, and then the other day, my daughter's like, What the heck? She's 4 years old. I'm like, oh, shit. So then I'm watching something the other day, and I dropped the F-bomb. And my middle one is there. He loves catching me. Because the oldest one is oldest one's like, if I drive a little fast, he's like you.
Of course.
Slow down,
Hey,
Dad.
hey, hey, hey.
Slow
You can't
down. It's
take
like
it
he's
easy.
my dad. What's the moral of the story? For me, all it goes down to is the following. Do you remember earlier when I said the Jewish guy talked to David that had $6 million? For me, it goes down to values and principles. If we want to teach that just because you have a difference, this is the way you handle it, then you're teaching the next generation this is how to do it. I'm going purely back to values and principles of what I'm going back to. I just don't think that's the approach to take. So that's my biggest suggestion right there. Now, can we talk about something else here?
Sure.
Let's wrap up on a good note.
Let me say this, okay? I think that if both sides understood that there's a difference between your liberty and your freedom to do something and then something that you, so like me, I don't care about the Confederate flag, okay? So we've got lovely African-American people here that it could be a very sensitive issue for them because there's hurts passed down generation. They see it differently than I see it. So if I love them, and I mean, even here in the row, like, dude, I love Kyle. Like, dude, one of the most incredible individuals would I purposefully...
Makes you feel safe, though, because he has a certain gift with Star Wars. It's more of a safety issue with you.
Yeah. He is the Texas state champion light-based fencing.
You don't want any part of that, buddy.
But I think that if we actually, from both sides, had some compassion and some understanding that, hey, this means one thing to you and this, but I don't purposefully want to offend you. I don't purposefully want to do something to rub your face in it. Then I think that we all get to a place to where if we love each other as individuals, then we're purposefully not going to flaunt our freedoms.
I'm with that. I agree with that. Last thought here before we wrap up. Look, travel. Conversations coming up. I think there was a video done by BlackRock talking about 5 ways the world could change due to COVID-19. They said, number 1, technology is going to change. Online education is going to go to a different level. Number 2 is global versus local. Local businesses have an edge today over global because people are not caring about global as much as they cared before pre-pandemic. Company balance sheets reconsidered. They're changing the way they're looking at numbers right now. ESG accelerated how companies treat their employees during crisis. A lot of people are looking at employment after pandemic, who they want to work for. And last but not least, slow ease back to leisure, travel. Okay, favorite place you've ever gone to? You have one place. Favorite place you've traveled.
Not including
I'm
Addison,
going to give you
Texas?
mine,
Okay.
and I can't wait to go back to this place.
Okay.
Heaven on earth. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
You want to go first?
No, you go first. Favorite place. Tell me favorite place. And you can't say Addison, Texas, like beachside. Favorite place.
My favorite place.
Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
I've been to Jerusalem. Your daughter's name is Jerusalem, but I'm only the only person that's been to Jerusalem. I wouldn't say Jerusalem.
No,
though.
you didn't
Tel
have the
Aviv is
best-
amazing. Tel Aviv is amazing.
So would you put that as number 1?
My favorite place I've
Number
ever been.
one.
My favorite city I've ever been to, and I'd say Paris.
Paris.
Paris was amazing.
Heaven on
Paris.
earth.
Love it.
Love Paris.
Love it. I love
What
Paris.
would you say?
This is going to sound corny, but honestly, it's between one of 2 places. Either Carmel, California, Monterey,
That's a sick place.
okay, or on the opposite coast, I'm going to say Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida. One
Josh.
of the richest places in America.
Josh,
What?
I really mean this. You gotta leave the country, bro. You gotta
Okay.
get, like, as soon as
I
I thought he
lived-
was going to
I
say
lived-
Tulsa. I thought he
if
was
you
going
said,
to say
if
I
you
Tulsa.
lived
said,
in Mexico.
if you said Naples, Italy, I went to Napoli, and I like that'd be one thing.
best-
You went to a
Have you-
retirement community
bro,
in the west coast of Florida.
Have you traveled with 6 kids? No, you have not.
I was once a camp counselor and a teacher, and I've traveled
you-
with dozens and
Doesn't
dozens of
qualify.
kids, but that
Doesn't
doesn't count.
qualify.
Yes.
We're going to go to Israel. Okay, I
hope
just
you do.
found out
I
from
hope you do.
HR visited me today in my office and said, "We just thought you should know you're going to get 3 to 4 weeks of, you're going to get some vacation time after you've been here for a while." And I said, "Well, my lord, not that I'm ever going to get a chance to take it,
Yeah.
because we all know how
COVID.
working with Pat
working
is."
here.
No, bro, it's not COVID. It's working with
Wait a minute,
Pat.
you get 1 vacation day a week. It's Sunday.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
Sunday.
Did you go to church on Sunday?
Yeah.
Did you go to church on Sundays?
So typically, yes, we have not found a church here.
Because I was at church and I did not see you there, sir. and
Bro,
I'm
you were
very
not
upset
at
with you.
church. You were not at.
Hardcore church going guy, Adam. But he's going for the wrong
but I
reason.
mean this sincerely.
But we are gonna
Get
go to
Naples,
Israel.
Italy, and not
Bro,
Naples, Florida.
We're gonna go to Jerusalem. We're gonna go there.
Yeah.
Hopefully around Christmas time. I don't know when you take your vacation, but when Pat takes his, I'll
Pat's
probably
a
take
big
mine.
Christmas guy. All right, Pat, drum roll. Your favorite?
I am looking for this year's Christmas. I told my wife, I said, this year for Christmas, I'm tripling my budget because I want to have, and we spend a good amount of money on Christmas, but this one's going to be good.
Your favorite place
I've been all over the world.
to?
I've been to a lot of crazy places. I've been 40 plus countries. I've been to a lot of nice places. But when we took a trip to Monaco, and we went to Monaco just recently, we went first class. You know, incredible time all the way down there. Got the car, went to the hotel, right by the water. We went to a restaurant called Le Louis. Le Louis. Le Louis is the restaurant. You go to Le Louis, which is by the casino. The casino's right here, the main casino. Le Louis is over here, right by the Chanel store. Valet, if you want to drive, because cabs are Rolls Royces over there, by the way, just so you know. That's like a ridiculous place. It's smaller than...
This is the south of France, by the way.
Monaco is smaller than Central Park, just so you know this. It's a fun fact. Smaller than Central Park. And the life expectancy is in Monaco is the highest in the world. The average person in Monaco lives 89 years old. It's the highest life expectancy in the world. It's called money.
It's called tan privilege.
Access. But now watch this, which you look like you have some of it, by the way. You and Trump look like you use the same orange tanning stuff. So anyways, so we go to Le Louis, the restaurant, right? When you walk in, first of all, there's only 10 tables inside. There's not that many tables, 10. You walk in, it's 3 hours, and they come. And the one person shows up. Everybody's got an accent. And the way they treat you, royalty. 2 people, you go, $3,000 to $4,000 what you're spending for 2. Then we went to Cannes, the hotel over there, which we drove up to go to there, which is Cannes Festival, where they do what they do there. And Jimmy Kimmel's there. Jimmy Kimmel, our buddy, who's going through an interesting time right now with his situation.
Our close friend, a close friend of the show.
Off with Matt Damon and his wife walking out of the room, which was a funny spoof for his issue that he had with Karl Malone apparently years ago. But anyways, so we go to this place. They say across the street, they have award-winning lobster rolls. I said, award-winning, and I love a good roll. I said, how do you even give an award for a lobster roll? Let me tell you, we walk across by the water. And I meet a diplomat from Lebanon there, talking about stuff that's going on in the Middle East. We sit there, we order the first lobster roll. The lobster roll shows up. Adam, I've eaten a lot of delicious food. The lobster was 34 euros, okay, for a lobster
Which is like $50.
roll. One was 34 euros.
$40.
But when I ate it, they had 3 different flavors. I said, bring one of each.
Wow.
It was the greatest lobster roll I've ever had in my life. Right there. Then we went back. Went to all the nice museums, had incredible treatment. My wife went to all the nice places to shop, and we flew back. If you've never been, we have to go to Monaco together.
Bro, could you imagine being in Monaco with Pat, with his bow tie? He's wearing that tux. He looks like flipping Pat. And then you and I are rolling around, a fat Jew, a
I hope
skinny
you're
Jew.
ready. I hope you guys are ready.
Pat, I'll tell you what, when we go eat these lobster rolls, I will make sure to thank you for treating us.
Bro, you said you're picking up the check next time.
I'll pick up the check at
You're
Yard
staying
House.
true to Sauce
Pat,
money.
thank you so much.
Save that money.
Save that
Thank
money.
you for dinner, Pat.
Thank you, PBD.
I wanna know-
Save
Yeah.
that money.
I want to know how long this podcast was.
How long was it? It was like 45 minutes, right? It's Kyle said it's about 45 minutes or something. What's the timeline? 2 hours and 20 minutes. Okay, good. We beat the last one, but this one actually
was
felt
fun.
better
This
than
was
the
good.
first
Yeah,
one.
it was fun.
We're making progress. Anyways, hey, listen, if you're watching this and you want to get a text the moment we go live, because sometimes when these platforms go, people are in different places, send us a text to 310-340-1132, 310-340-1132. We will send you the link the next time. The moment we go live, I'm going to text it to you so you won't miss it, because a lot of times people see this afterwards. If you want to be with us while we're live, while we're reading the comments, looking at stuff, send us a text, 310-340-1132.
And rate the podcast in the comments section, 1 through 10. Okay, because we literally go back and read these comments.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Let
we
us
do.
know what you think. 1 being horrible, 10 being incredible. Let us know what you thought of the podcast. If you're enjoying it, and then I think there's going to be a lot more episodes.
I think by the way, a lot of things we didn't cover rock, we didn't cover stimulus package, we didn't cover a lot of different things. So we got more to come here soon. We don't know when the next one's going to come out, but we will text you when the next one's coming out. Again, thank you for tuning in, gentlemen.